I've been watching the past few questions, and it all boils down to one thing. And it starts with you asking about the new mission statement. What can we do? Because all these questions have asked one side of the coin. More guns, more cops, more cool. Yay, I'm all for it. It's not a cop problem, it's not a money problem, it's not a politics problem, it's a culture problem. What can we do to change the culture that we're living in right now of chosen ignorance and I don't care being mantras among the younger generation today? Because what you're seeing with the more guns and the militarization of the police and all that jazz is a reflection of the culture that they're required to function in. They're given a simple goal: stop crime. It's not rocket science. What can we do to help them to shape that culture? And how do we do that without going too far? Because she's got a great idea around there, but I'm pretty sure if the cops go around rounding kids up at night, there's going to be constitutional issues involved.
Right.
It does.
Chris, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's all of these, all the past questions, it's the same thing. It's a culture problem.
It's accountability. We don't hold our kids accountable. Our kids don't hold, is a culture, and there's a lot to that. But what you guys can do to help us is work with your neighbors, get with your neighborhood associations, have your lights on, be a participant in your neighborhood. All right, you can't just sit back and hear a whole bunch of garbage going on in the back alley and just call the police. We can get there and they run or they're gone before we get there or whatever. Hopefully we can catch a couple of them doing whatever they're doing. But protect yourselves as far as maybe some video cameras, things like that for your neighborhood, for your neighbors, for your house. Get to know your neighbors when they leave, go on vacation, so you can keep an eye on their house so it doesn't get burglarized. Okay? Overall weight is
Let's say 47 and a quarter. But it's a fat quarter. It's like 47 and 3/8. But let's say 47 and a quarter because we're going to want that 1/8 inch of play.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Width at the bottom is 30 and a half.
That matches the other one, I believe.
It looks like it. Width at the top is 30 and a half. That's a tight half. It's 30 and a half.
Okay.
Width at the base of the T puts us across at, I'm going to say 45.
45 even?
Yeah, 45 even to the break. Okay.
Yep. Width at the top of the T.
Width at the top of the T is, it's quite lovely at 33 and 3/4.
All right.
Okay.
Now, distance from corner of the seat to the top of the T.
Corner of the seat to the top of the T. 22 and a half.
And for a sanity check from the corner of the seat to the other piece of plywood down there.
25.
Which is 47 and a half. You
Okay.
said it was a fat quarter, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Can you cut that real quick?
Yep.
Cool. Thanks, sir. This should be pretty easy. This one should be a lot easier than the other one.
Rudder doesn't shut off.
What?
Last time we ran it, shut off the
Really? In what way? What shut up? Really? So like the Haas part of things.
It went black screen.
Oh shit. All right, let's not do that again.
Yeah.
Okay. there, guys. Welcome to today's Captain Vlog. It's 11:48 hours on Tuesday, January 19th, 2016, and Melissa is having the best day ever. You should tell them about your morning.
No.
Tell them about your morning.
No.
Tell them about running from the cops.
And I want to point out that
Causing a
I am not
ruckus.
the one that did the driving that got the cops called on them.
Are you the one who got pulled over by the police?
I am.
Okay, so obviously you were the bad person.
I was not.
Was I pulled over by the police?
You weren't
No,
in the
because
car.
I'm a good guy.
You weren't in the car.
I was not in the car when you were pulled over by the police. I wasn't even there. I was, in fact, here when you were harassing police officers. She's nothing but trouble. These kids these days, I tell you. What? What?
Try turning it on and off again.
Did you close all the windows and reboot? Oh, it won't start. Give it some choke.
I got to this and then shut off. I guess it's gonna go this time.
Fucking Hoth. Needs more choke. We'll be back. No, we won't. We're gonna march right up there and do the morning and see what's up. Are you having a good day? You having fun? You motivated? You excited? Yay! How's your day going?
Pretty good.
See, he's having a good day. Why do you gotta be bringing everybody down?
I'm sitting in
Wait.
the corner.
Like, it's just healthy in here.
Just staying here because it's safe.
Have you pet a dog today?
Several.
See, that's the secret. Just pet the dog. You didn't get to. Look, dog came to love you. Hi, dogs. Hi, dogs. What have you got on your neck? Moose, your dog's weird. Oh, shit. Here comes trouble. Moose, your dog's weird. She's got stuff on her neck. So what do you got going on?
It was a bow, or fixing the Xerox.
The Xerox is having problems? Our illustrious Xerox copier, printer, scanner, faxer, folder, collator thing? Semi-truck in the other room? We never had problems with our quality Xerox printer.
I did not wake up in the best of moods. And then I get to work, and everything I have to do today requires me to print. And I am trying very hard to not take this out on Jerry.
No, we should totally take it out on Jared. Just as a matter of course. Or Stacy. It's entirely Stacy's fault.
She can print! I'm the only one that can print.
Well then, why can't you be like Stacy? Obviously, she's doing it right.
So Talos just asked me to try something. I'm going to try it. And I want to show you something.
Okay. Talos would never, ever be wrong. He's Talos. That's the nice new desk.
Yeah.
This is what everybody assembled yesterday. Okay. It's a significant upgrade to the old one.
Print.
There's paper coming out. It's printing stuff. It's printing. Hi Talos. It printed. It says hi Talos.
Then you know what I think the problem was?
Talos?
It hated the invoice from Beist.
You can print everything but the Beist invoice?
Yeah.
Well, then just pay the damn thing and we don't worry about it.
I have stuff to show you.
Oh. What do you have to show me? Lots of boxes of
So
stuff.
this is what I wanted to show you. So we're putting together our auction baskets.
Okay. These are for the big event thing.
Yes. So like this is one of them.
Okay.
Primary thing on this one is the gift certificate from Chateau Chantal.
Okay.
It's the highest weighted winery in the state of Michigan.
Oh, well, that's serious business.
To go on the other end of the spectrum, we have the sports basket.
Okay. Cool.
And this is a silent auction, and you will be able to bid online.
So all the people watching this can bid on things in the auction?
Yes, and some of these are not local to Grand Rapids.
Like the Green Bay Packers?
Well, like Chateau Chantal, you have to be able to be in Michigan to take advantage of it.
Okay.
But this one is gourmetgiftbaskets.com and the Cheesecake Factory,
Oh,
and they're both for online orders.
okay.
So this gets you like a really fancy cheesecake.
And some 3D printed stuff.
And we're including some Geek Group
bacon
stuff
and,
in
okay.
them. And we also have a basket for Boston.
There's a Blue Man Group thing here?
Yep, from Boston.
Okay.
So if you're in the Boston area or you want to go there, this is a full Blue Man Group night.
Okay. That's
And
kick-ass.
if you're in or want to go to Washington, D.C., the museum is a sponsor.
Cool.
It's a First Amendment museum.
Oh, I like that.
So this is a full package for them. That's Washington, D.C. And a lot of them are Grand Rapids, but we have a couple that are not.
This is cool.
Yeah. So we will be having that up online in the next couple days.
Okay. And people can register and sign up and all that jazz.
Yeah, and it'll be the same process for people in person and online. We're
Okay.
setting up an integration.
Cool.
I'm excited. And we have a couple Detroit ones.
Okay. But we won't talk about that. Not Detroit.
Oh, it's not a big deal.
It was fun.
I think we should auction off like bottles of Flint's finest water. I think there's a market for that.
You can make paperweights with it.
Yeah. Ah, shit. Hi. God, you're dumb. Jerry, what are you doing? Because
It's pooched.
I walked up and there's two facts I know. One, this is an incredibly fiddly, fussy, persnickety machine. And two, I see it opened up and you got screwdrivers. That makes me nervous.
This, see this set screw
Yeah.
is ground a circle.
Okay. That's easy to fix. You wanna know how you fix it? Loosen the set screw, take it off.
Nope.
Loosen the set screw, take
Set
this
screw
off.
is loosened. You
Okay.
take it off.
Hold the damn camera. Get on that side, you back one.
It's one
Pair of
screw.
dikes?
Yeah, one screw's fucked up.
You have a pair of
I
dikes?
don't have a pair of dikes.
One screw's fucked up. What one screw's fucked up?
In the corner, down at the bottom. That's the reason why the whole thing isn't coming off right now.
Pretty sure the reason the whole thing isn't coming off.
Well, it doesn't have more play in it. That's what I'm saying.
No, you gotta take off this zip tie right here. You don't have a pair of dikes.
It's fine. I went into this thinking the belt popped off, so
Okay.
I wasn't like,
This is the screw you can't get out down here.
yeah, with the positioning and whatnot,
The
and
screw that's stripped all to hell, that's
yeah, that screw. Screw that was stripped all to hell before even I got to it.
Number one. Have you tried using a number 2 Phillips anywhere for the number 2 Phillips screw down there? That's just me. I'm not like an engineering kind of guy or anything, but starting with the right screwdriver might be a start.
Having screws that aren't made
Okay.
of cheap-
1, quit touching this until 2, I get back to help, okay?
Okay.
I will come back with some tools. Because this ends in tears. It all ends in tears. You're making her sad. Look at the sadness. No fucks to give at all. Oh, Steve got another box. What? Oh, Mr. LeMay will be very happy about that.
Well,
That's
he'll be-
more cameras.
He'll be happy sad
Why?
because I ordered 4.
And they sent 1.
They sent 1.
Where's the other 3?
They don't exist anymore.
What do you mean?
I mean, I tried to click order more and it said this product is unavailable.
So they gave you a refund for the 3 that they didn't send, right?
Yeah,
All right.
but we just need to figure out where to get the other 3.
The IRC can solve that. Take a picture, send it to them. It's out there. Somebody's got a warehouse full of that shit. I'll be back.
And that's like,
All right, guys, time is 12:17 hours, and I am happy to report something awesome. Robot moves. I fixed it. She's chooching. Big damn robot hanging out, doing stuff. It's just running fast yoga right now because there's a lot of stuff around the cage, but I've got it locked down at 10% speed, and it's just running a fast yoga program, really simple. So she's chooching. Happy robot. Makes me happy. Progress, man. Digging it out. Making it happen. I'll be back. Hello guys, I'm Chris Boden. Welcome to the Geek Group. It's time for viewer mail at 13:59 hours on Tuesday, January 19th, 2016. And... Sharp objects. We have mail from Denichi, who loves us. How much does Danichi love us? Danichi knows that the whole world has gone to shit and has sent us toilet paper.
Shit tickets, yeah.
Thank you, sir, for toilet paper. What else do we have? So, I got a thought for you regarding toilet paper. And I want you to just meditate upon this fact. In fact, Mr. Valentini, go like this. What? Do you wear a belt?
Yes?
Yeah? Okay. Batman, you wear a belt? Okay, you two come out up here a minute. Okay, now how long have you had that belt? 2 years. About 2 years? How long have you had that belt? Since I was 5.
Oh, fuck, I don't know.
Long damn
5
time,
years.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Now, all 3 of us poop every day, right? Okay. And after you poop, you buckle your belt, you wash your hands. You ever washed your belt?
Yes.
Okay, you're free.
I've washed my. I've
washed your
leather
leather goods?
pants.
Both of you get off my goddamn stage.
But 90% of the time, no.
Yeah, see?
The occasional
Nobody washes their
accidental.
belt, except Steven, because he's Steven. From Alex Vaughn! What is it? Oh, it's a mount. I think it's a mount. We've been mounted by Alex Vaughn. It's got a red tag. It's a Peerless AV, as opposed to Peerless the Handcuff Company. And it's a monitor mount.
It was always just them.
Cool. Then Ed is up to something. Shenanigans.
Other thing.
This goes on the wall. What other thing?
What was the only one?
That was it. That's all was in the box. There's another box. I have a whole other box. No idea who it's from. Contained with, really? Giraffe paper. I have no, oh, wait, no. Yes! Show and blog, please. No name Matt and lots of question marks. It's in the blog! It's giraffe paper.
Someone should actually make giraffe paper. It'd be like graph paper, but just with the reticulated pattern.
A reticulated pattern of giraffes?
No, just the spots.
Spots.
So the blue lines are just the spot shapes instead of squares. Hilarious.
Geek Group Attention Viewer Mail, doesn't say who. Yo! This along with the USB to... Yep. Yo! This along with the USB to DC jack and some sheets of anti-static foam should get there. I still can't... Believe Electronics does not have anti-static foam. We're working on it. We'll get there. What is that?
He's whoever sent this.
This is a VGA cable. It's a 15-pin D-sub male-to-male cable from Monoprice. This has got to be an Ed thing. I don't know what's up, but thank you XAMPP for donating it. I used to have a pretty good grip on what was coming in for viewer mail, and I knew like what went where and why and for what. And these days, there's stuff here, man. I don't know what to say. I'm just along for the ride.
You know what the toilet paper's for?
I know what the toilet paper's for. I got that going for me. Mr. Bellatini has a very clean belt. Smells quite lovely. That's it for viewer mail today. I already had a Sharpie. Stacy! You get a Sharpie, just for being that cool. Because she's the girl who can print today. She will lead us to glory and victory. You guys have fun. Thank you, everyone. That's viewer mail for today at the Geek Group. We'll be back tomorrow with more fun and excitement. And we'll be back for the blog viewers right after a word from our sponsor.
Quinn's Vape Supply
is your source for high-quality e-cig products. At Quinn's, you'll find over 80 different flavors of e-liquids, from exotic fruit flavors to traditional tobacco flavors, and
everything in between.
There's an e-liquid for everyone.
Quinn's
is also the exclusive supplier of the
Crisp Boden Signature Series.
Not sure which flavor's for you? Check out one of the
Flavor Flights
for a sampling of different flavors. All e-liquids have customizable
nicotine
levels ranging from 0 to 24 milligrams, so you can control how much
nicotine
you're vaping.
Quinn's
is an authorized Inikin dealer, and they carry a variety of e-cigs and accessories.
Quinn's
has everything you need to vape exactly how you like.
Quinn's Vape Supply
is exclusively online, and they offer priority mail shipping for all domestic orders. So head on over to
QuinnsVapeSupply.com.
That's QUINNS vapesupply.com and start vaping right
today.
So there's like serious art happening over here.
Yes. We've got all the baskets put together.
Okay.
So we're taking pictures of them.
On this?
Yes.
You got an extra bit. See, there's your high-tech product shot.
So this is Celebration Cinema. Red Right Civic. No. Celebration Cinema, Grand Rapids Public Museum, K Pharmacy, Inspire, a mug, and a bag.
Take the bracelet out.
Yes, but there's a keychain.
Thrilling science happening there. Time is 18:02 hours, and we're here with a lot of people. This is the meeting of the community police captains, and it covers all three of the major West Side neighborhoods. So, lots of faces that I know, which is kind of cool. I'm impressed with how many people came out given the weather. This is neat. This makes me really happy. Oh, we got some media here. So the guy down here with the big cameras with the Spanish language paper. I see a dude over there with a tripod. And a way too hot girl next to him tells me he's probably TV media. Don't know. Good turnout though. Let's see if they say anything meaningful. That'd be kind of cool. Show me a mic flag. Who you with? 17 maybe? 13? We get a side shot of his camera. We'll be able to ID his station. No tags. You're killing me. And we gotta wait till he pulls out a mic flag. Well, I'll be back when the show starts.
Thank you for allowing us to use your space tonight. Obviously, it's a great venue. Kind of the middle of the West Side, so it's a pretty good spot to be working with. So I appreciate them offering it up to us tonight. Chief Ransom.
And I'll be very brief. This is your meeting. It's an opportunity for you to be heard, not for me to speak. So I just want to thank you for coming, first of all. It's a cold night out there. Again, we thank Rockford for having us. And you may have seen we put out some feelers. One of the things I'm hoping to pump the discussion is we took a look at our mission statement, and it was several years old. No one can quite say exactly when or who the author was. So we thought it would be a good time for us to re-explore our priorities and make sure that our priorities are aligned with the community. So as a resident of the West Side myself now, it's good to see we've got a good turnout. We're very fortunate. We're served by a great captain, a great group of community policing officers who service our area. We've got some explorers here tonight. We've got a senior volunteer. So if you've got a young person in your life who's interested in law enforcement, they'd be a great person to talk to. If you're retired and you're looking to volunteer, a senior volunteer program will be morphing into a community, a citizens on patrol. So we're going to get rid of the retiree, or the perception that it's for retirees only, and start segueing where everyone who goes to the Citizens Police Academy, we get an opportunity to serve as a citizen on patrol if they choose to go through the additional training. So we hope to make that an additional opportunity for engagement between the department and everyone else. I want to thank Commissioner Schaefer for being here tonight, for those taking this time on a cold night. And we're here to listen. So without much more babbling, why don't we turn it back over to the captain. Thank you.
A couple of housekeeping things. Restrooms are back here if you need to swing around. No big deal. I'm just up here so my voice will carry a little bit better. A couple of things I want to try to avoid talking about tonight. If you have a specific, and believe me, I know the West Side, I grew up over here, so I know this happens. I know it happens. But if you have a specific case, or your brother's uncle's nephew got stopped by the police back in '97, I can't speak intelligently about that. So please don't get into those specifics. If you have something you want to talk about afterwards, by all means, you can get a hold of me or one of the community officers that are here, or give me an email or a phone call. We'll talk about it, but just not in this forum. If everybody understands that and is good to move forward with that. So there's some waters over there and some cookies and things. There's also some information from neighborhood associations on the table over there on your way out. If you aren't aware of some of the things and programs that they offer, there's some of that over there, so please take some of that information on your way out. I want this to be pretty informal, to be honest. We've all been through, or we've heard about the coffee with cops, coffee with captains, things like that. This is just kind of that, but on steroids a little bit. So just a bigger group. The entire West Side was invited to this one versus just small, neighborhood associations or small neighborhoods. If you don't know, the West Service area encompasses downtown as well, not just across the river. Everybody thinks the West Side is this side of the river, but it also has the entire Heartside community, the downtown business area, all of that, all the way up to North Monroe to Leonard Street. So that's also part of what's under my command as far as on the West Side. So it goes all the way up there, it starts at the southeast corner at Welty and Jefferson, and then kind of moves north and west all the way out to the city limits. So it's a big area that requires a lot of attention in different neighborhoods. So we receive, I'm not sure if we're the biggest, or east is actually a little bit bigger, but we have the most calls for service on the west side of town. So we're busy, we're a busy group, and there's a lot of issues, a lot of good things going on. There's crime, that's why we're here and why I have a job, unfortunately. But I don't want to get too much into statistics, but like the chief mentioned, I want to talk about the mission statement. And this is the mission statement currently of the Grand Rapids Police Department. The members of the Grand Rapids Police Department are committed to providing the highest quality of professional police services. We strive to protect life, enforce and uphold the law, preserve order, and protect property. In partnership with citizens, city government, and other stakeholders, we commit ourselves to improving the quality of life in our community. It's a pretty good mission statement, but we're looking for something fresh and new. We're also looking for something that the patrol officers and the people who are out there doing the work for you can kind of hold on to and grasp. That's pretty hard to memorize, pretty hard to think about as you're driving your cruiser around on a 9-degree night in January. Be thinking about some of those things. So that's why we want to get input from you folks, help us guide that process into what we can do to better serve the community. Does that make sense to everybody? So if anybody has any comments they want to put out now, by all means we'll start listening to that. There's an email that we've set up at the city. It's GRPD mission statement at grcity.us, and we'll have that later if you need it. But you can email your thoughts. You can email any input you want. That'll all be vetted. We'll all be taking a look at it as a group, as a command staff, and the chief obviously will decide where we want to go. The officers also have some input. They're stakeholders obviously as well, and how to guide and move the police department forward as well. So that's what we're looking for, input from you folks tonight. And then also, like I mentioned, questions, answers, anything good, bad, or otherwise that we can deal with. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I don't want to be here all night. I'm sure you folks don't either, but I don't want to cut anybody short either if you want to, or have something you want to discuss. So if you want a microphone, I think we have one, or if you just want to stand up at your spot and pipe anything out, we'll, if I don't have the answer, one of these folks do, or we'll get you an answer. Another thing the chief kind of touched on before we get rolling too. We have 2 explorers here. These kids go to, or are in the Explorer program right now, and if you get a question later, I just want to touch on it, but we're trying to get these kids to learn as much as they can from the city of Grand Rapids, from the surrounding areas, so we want them to become police officers here. We want the future of the Grand Rapids Police Department to look like the community, so we're trying to reach as far out as we can to every part of the city and every part of the suburban area to try to get these kids to come, want to learn how to be a police officer, learn what it takes, learn what it's about, and then hopefully keep working through the process, go to school, get good grades. Ultimately, hopefully, we can then hire them. The chief also mentioned the volunteer program, the senior volunteers, trying to expand that. So we have retired officers, retired dispatchers that do that. They still love the job, love the city, and we're trying to expand that a little bit. So if there's questions on that. But it boils down to that community, that west side stuff. I grew up going to school at St. James. I went there through 6th grade. You know, my dad lived on Nagel Street. So I'm kind of that kid that grew up over here, became a police officer, love it, still love it. 21 years later, here I am. So that's what we're trying to do with some of these explorers, because it's hard enough to get kids to want to be cops anymore. So we're trying to get them from the ground up. So anybody have any comments on that, or the mission statement, or anything right now?
Mentor and mold.
I'm sorry?
You're going to mentor and mold these young men.
We're trying, absolutely. We have a pretty good program. They're going to the state competition here. Is that correct, gentlemen? Yep. It's a brand new program for us. So we're trying to start them early. Absolutely.
I just want to start out on a positive note, because I remember all the wonderful work that the police have done in this city. I've seen the great customer service, the professionalism, and just the best in everybody. And I know that people have bad days, but I don't think there's any doubt in many people's minds here that the police are right up alongside the firefighters and the team workers in that real life heroism that they do every day. So I just wanted to start out and thank you for doing everything you do.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I know these guys appreciate it. Just around the corner, this morning, early morning, we had a fire over on Lexington. If you didn't see that in the news or whatever, some officers smelled some smoke, knocked on the door, heard the smoke alarm, the smoke detectors going off, talked to folks, got them out, the fire department got there, they worked their tails off. Four of those guys got hurt today doing that, fighting that fire. Nothing real serious, but we have to work as a team, and so we appreciate you, saying that. Anybody else have? I have a few things I can go over later, but we can keep moving forward.
You know, I have nothing but positive to say about the community support. You guys have been absolutely fabulous. The problem is there aren't enough of you. How do we get the city manager here to help get you some more support and more people out there?
Meetings like this, get your voices heard. That's not up to me to hire more cops, although we're trying to hire more cops. That's not up to the chief to hire more cops. We can provide the city leaders. Commissioner Schaefer's here, and I appreciate his time coming, like the chief said. But they need to hear from you folks. Every ward in the city, every district in the city, you need to contact your commissioners. Let them know what you feel we need to do, or you need to let them know what you want, so then we can help better serve you folks. And if that's, we try to do the best we can with what we have, and we do. These guys are busting their tail, doing a lot of good work. But yeah, if you're working a lot over on this side of town, then maybe downtown's getting neglected because the officers aren't there still. During the day we have community officers that aren't on the call roster, so they're not getting dispatched to calls unless we're really busy, so they can focus on the stuff you guys need. Parking issues, traffic issues, whatever problems come up in your neighborhood, those guys are able to work on that stuff. We want to expand that a little bit to the evening. So when they leave, we have people that can still do that job. We're a little bit, have our head underwater as far as the number of officers we're even authorized for currently, just with attrition. We have our department's getting older. Guys like me, 20 years, 21 years, people are starting to retire and slow down. So they're retiring quicker than we can hire and train good kids, good young cops, and good experienced cops. We have a program, if you're a cop for 3 years at a different agency, we'll hire you at a higher pay level, so you don't have to start at the bottom. We'll give you a lateral transfer. So it's just like and so we're trying to expand that program to the night, or afternoons and evenings, so when there's dope dealers on Division Avenue, they know when Jason leaves. They know when Ernie's gone and Eric are gone. And they ramp up their business because the officers that are assigned to patrol are busy taking calls for service, policing accidents, doing things like that. They can't spend the time necessarily, unless a dispatch call comes through, then they can go and address it. When they have the time, if it is quiet night, cold like this, we try to encourage them to be proactive, to do surveillance, to do those types of things. But also, it's cold for the dope dealers too, so they're inside, they're not out. So it's pretty quiet, and then we try to work on odd even parking issues and other things that they can be doing that we know the community and the neighborhoods care about too. So we're trying, believe me, to answer your question. It needs to come from City Hall, and we need folks, if that's how you feel, that voice needs to be heard. And we hear a lot of negative things in the paper about the cops doing this and the cops doing that, but we need that positive community support, and there's several of you in here that we know support us, to be vocal and let people know that you do support us and that you do want more of us around to help handle some of the problems that we have.
I'm sitting here.
I see you, Jerry.
My hip hurts. Question, Dave, what is being done to get more officers?
Sure. We get this question quite frequently, whether it's officers, whether it's firefighters, whether it's parks people that cut the lawn, whatever it is, snowplow drivers. I mean, it's any city service that the city has. It's always easy to look at. Let's just have more of what we have. I think that what we're trying to do in this direction is really be the safest city of our size in the U.S. That's what the chief is saying. That's our goal level. So you can do that by different ways. You can look at what the crime stats are in your area. You can look at how you focus that. You can look at, as you gain residents in the city, can you hire at that? That's one thing that we talked about recently. Raise that cap to allow for us to hire more, so the attrition number, we don't go below what we have now. So, but there's also 7 votes, right? And so we don't all think the same. So I know we had a proposal for $1 million technology spend, and that was not one that I supported. And instead, we supported some staffing for that. We eventually didn't do that, so there's still money out there. So it takes 7 to get there, and so not everyone feels the same. I probably feel more the way you do, and I push the manager to put more staffing in the budget, but there's other priorities and needs that others have. But one is to coordinate with neighborhoods, and there's a neighborhood coordinator that's now at the city. So there's a lot of different roles and spots to put, and there's costs too. I can tell you, overall, for us to just put an officer on, the reason why we haven't had as many instances in my mind is because we train and we actually pay for the best officers. We used to be the best pay in the area. Now Kent County has beat a little bit, but we're still by far and want to be one of the highest paid departments around, because we want to take the most qualified candidates to go out, so they're thinking about the community at large and really want to stay for a long time, which is why we provide pension benefits and health care and things that are costly to that. So when you add that, you have to balance that off. We're looking at a pension shortfall, unfortunately, again this year of $3.5 million again. So you're seeing those sort of things change. So what I'm trying to tell you is it's not as easy as saying we're just going to hire more staff, we have more income tax. There's all these other factors financially around there. So I don't have an easy answer for you, and that's not a political out. That's just me explaining the reality. What I'll push for is what you asked. So.
I I have one more thing to say.
Yeah, sure.
The guns they purchased,
Yeah.
for the high power
Yeah.
guns, that's wonderful that you're doing those. You need more.
Well, we think we bought just the right amount. We're good. We got the right amount. What we need. We don't need them sitting in a locker somewhere. But thank you, Commissioner. And thanks, Jerry. But honestly, we're expensive, and I'm not gonna lie to you. We're like an insurance policy. I mean, we really are. And the fact that we have the best training, probably, and I've been involved in our training program since 1996. Training our new officers, training our in-service officers. We probably have one of the best training departments in the entire country, not just the state of Michigan, but in the entire country. We spend so much time focusing on keeping our officers safe, doing defensive tactics, doing shooting rifles, shooting things like that. But we also are training on conflict resolution, diffusing situations. We're doing a lot of things to try to, believe me, old man like me, I don't want to fight you anymore. I want to talk to you. I'll talk to you to get into the back seat. I don't want to fight you. So we train the officers to be able to communicate, resolve that situation without having to use force, but sometimes it's necessary. But my point is, we get a lot of good training. And it takes a long time, once we hire the officer, to get them up to speed. They have an 8-week in-house program. They have a 17-week FTO program. Then they're on their own for a while, still on probation. There's a lot of things that go into it before they're up to speed as a full-service police officer. And then, on-the-job training. You still have, it takes a couple years to be a good cop. You can't just go out there and know how to deal with people. Sometimes, you have to take some lumps along the way and learn to be a good cop. So, kind of just to go along with what the Commissioner said, it does take a long time. We are expensive, but again, like you said, yeah, you guys have to be the voice to do that. So, thank you.
I was just thinking that.
Someone, yeah.
I just want to first thank the chiefs for being at, I went to Equity Drinks a couple weeks ago, and thank you. I really appreciate you being there. It's kind of like throwing me into the pack. But on that note, and just along with the assault rifles, great that you got the guns and you think that we need them, but what is being done to train diversity and to train cops that when they go to the west side and when they go to the south side and when they go to division, that they're not having all these preconceived notions of what's happening in those areas? So
Well, we try not to have any preconceived notions about going into any area. We train the officers to treat people with respect and dignity no matter what. There's times that people don't treat us with respect and dignity, and we don't have the ability to provide that tit for tat. So we have to take action sometimes. But the officers should be treating everybody the same. There really shouldn't be any difference. Now, some officers are better than others. We just got done with an entire training block that all of the entire department went through, like I mentioned about conflict resolution, looking at things from other people's perspective, mental health issues, things like that. So where we work, and a couple of these guys worked on the Hart side, that's a different clientele than the Upper West side. That's a different clientele than Franklin and Eastern, sometimes, okay? Not all the time. Everybody, each part of the city has its own different demographic. But the officer should be able to work on the Upper West Side and then go work on Division and then go work off of Division and 28th Street or Breton and Burton. And that should not be, they shouldn't be treating anybody any differently.
In addition to what the captain referenced, which is the in-service training that we go through every year and the training that we go through the academy, we're currently reviewing requests for proposals. One of the points in the 12-point plan is additional bias-based policing training. So we requested, we put out an advertisement requesting trainers from around the country to come here to Grand Rapids and make sure that we're on the tip of the spear in terms of best practices and doing everything we can. We're reviewing those requests now, and it's anticipated within the next month or two that we'll choose a vendor who will come in and train everyone from the newest officer to the most senior, myself included.
The other thing is our new recruits, and this just came up with the last class of 12 kids, and we just did it for this new class that's being in the in-house right now, Officer Saki, and you may have seen the news stories, it was about a year ago now, that group was at Yacht's Kitchen helping serve lunch, and one of the gentlemen there started choking, and a couple of them, not even sworn officers, but trained ones, ended up doing some life-saving stuff and saved this gentleman from choking. So that initiative that was spearheaded by Officer Saki, who works down in our side area, we're bringing these new officers, and we're kind of giving them a tour of all the different buildings and resources that Heartside has to offer, because that population of folks who lives down there is unique, and so gives them a better understanding of how to deal with that. Jason deals with that group of folks day in and day out, Ernie and Eric too, who work down there. So they're going to interact with those folks a little bit differently than somebody who doesn't work down there on a daily basis. But again, like I said, we should all be treating everybody with the amount of respect and dignity that is there.
For training for conflict resolution and diversity.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. Is this something that you're looking into throughout the year? Like training programs that people have to attend throughout the year, just like maintaining your service weapon or maintaining target practice, maintaining the idea
like
of constantly
training after the initial
not just
block
refreshing, but constantly going through this course, because I think it's something that can't be viewed as a one-time thing or even as a one-up every couple of years, but something that's a constant interaction and a constant development.
I don't know exactly how the program is going to roll out initially. After, like she said, we have vendors coming to us with their plans, and ultimately we'll decide which one we'll like best. Generally, we're going to have one block of training everybody will attend, and then as far as follow-up with that or continual training, I don't know, a lot of the stuff we do is on-the-job training, and we get some, good and bad feedback. If the officers, believe me, we identify the officers through our internal affairs process and things like that, that if there's a problem, they get identified pretty quickly. Same thing with the officers who are doing really good work and people commend them. I get those phone calls and I love those, and I also get phone calls where people are complaining about an officer was discourteous or rude. I spent 3 years as an internal affairs investigator, as a sergeant. So I investigated a lot of those types of complaints. So we learn pretty quickly who needs the additional help and maybe some supplemental training on certain things. So to answer your question though, I don't know exactly how that's going to push out with a continual type training.
But as a follow-up, I guess, I understand that internal affairs may look into it at that point, but at that point a problem has already occurred. So being proactive in requiring this type of training to be something that is repeated may be a way to prevent that from ever happening. So it might be worth looking into.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I've noticed a lot of people talk about the cops, but the main thing should be the children, that are out late. And that's what's causing half of the problems, are the children being out late when they should be in earlier, because they should be getting good grades and not get themselves into trouble with other people. They should be inside doing their studies and then have time to play outside and be in before dark, because that's when all the trouble starts, is in the dark time.
I don't disagree with you, although unfortunately we do have crime that still happens during the day. I mean, people are
because a lot of kids are getting
kids that aren't in school, things like that.
Yeah.
So I
Kids are
agree
getting
with you.
shot at and stuff,
Right. It's a problem, and sometimes that takes accountability from the parents. The neighbors let the parents know what their kids are doing, and I think unfortunately long gone are the times, and we try to work through some of these with the neighborhood organizations where we want to get our neighbors to know who everybody is. And if I was in trouble in my neighborhood, the parents down the street have just the same amount of authority to smack my behind as my parents did. And my parents weren't, mad at them, they were mad at me. So that's kind of a whole shift in what's going on with kids these days. And neighbors don't know their neighbors to be able to call and say, hey, your kid's doing this, or your kid's out
And
here.
you can't fake kids these days, like you could back.
Right, it's a little bit different times.
Captain, if I could piggyback on that, we partner, the community officers, we partner with Grand Rapids Public School Security, and every single week we do home visits for truancy checks. So GRPS, they get a printout of the students that are consistently tardy and are consistently absent, and then one of the community officers, as well as with one of the uniformed security staff from school security, we do a home visit. Oftentimes the parents are well aware of it, and it boils down to it's very difficult to regulate good parenting. It's very challenging.
I know for a fact my kids.
But there is something, we absolutely take a proactive approach as we try and partner with the schools.
Who else had?
My name is Dennis. I'd like to thank the Grand Rapids Police Department for the fine job they're doing. And I'm out there at night and I see a lot of police officers present. And I'd like to thank Mr. Leonard for taking care of my problem.
I don't know how much Tony gave me to say that.
$10, right, Jim? Okay.
I know about all your stings at night. I know some of the people that got caught up in them, and I'm thankful to get them out of my neighborhood.
Good, I'm glad. Sir.
I've been watching the past few questions, and it all boils down to one thing. And it starts with you asking about the new mission statement. What can we do? Because all these questions have asked one side of the coin. More guns, more cops, more, cool, yay, I'm all for it. It's not a cop problem, it's not a money problem, it's not a politics problem, it's a culture problem. What can we do to change the culture that we're living in right now of chosen ignorance and I don't care being mantras among the younger generation today? Because what you're seeing with the more guns and the militarization of the police and all that jazz is a reflection of the culture that they're required to function in. They're given a simple goal, stop crime. It's not rocket science. What can we do to help them to shape that culture? And how do we do that without going too far? Because she's got a great idea around there, but I'm pretty sure if the cops go around rounding kids up at night, there's going to be constitutional issues involved.
Right.
It does.
Chris, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's all of these, all the past questions, it's the same thing. It's a culture problem.
It's accountability. We don't hold our kids accountable. Our kids don't hold, is a culture, and there's a lot to that. But what you guys can do to help us is work with your neighbors, get with your neighborhood associations, have your lights on, be a participant in your neighborhood. All right, you can't just sit back and hear a whole bunch of garbage going on in the back alley and just call the police. We can get there and they run or they're gone before we get there or whatever. Hopefully we can catch a couple of them doing whatever they're doing. But protect yourselves as far as maybe some video cameras, things like that for your neighborhood, for your neighbors, for your house. Get to know your neighbors when they leave, go on vacation, so you can keep an eye on their house so it doesn't get burglarized.
Can I just say, in answer to your question, I'm just a civilian, but I felt the same need. What are we going to do to change our culture? So I just want to let you know, I have a flyer back here because I'm hosting a conference called the Protectors Conference. And when I advertise it, it's strategic decision making, and it's a little bit of physical Krav Maga, but something everybody can do, and threat assessment, and active shooter scenarios. And when I advertise it to police, oh, they get it. But when I talk to civilians, they're like, oh, this isn't for us. And I say, no, this is. Because it's not an us and them. They protect us, and we're part of a team. They're part of our community. And we don't have to be victims or be powerless. And so this conference was a way to bring everybody together to learn skills and awareness and build bridges between the two.
Barbara from the West Side Connection Neighborhood Association, by the Sioux. one of the things that we did.
I finally get to meet you. I'm talking to you.
One of the things that we did in the past with Karen Warlings, who is a wonderful worker within our neighborhoods, was we set up a block captain on just about every block. And I don't know how many of you remember the television program Bewitched. There was Mrs. Kravitz, and she was the busybody that looked out her window and she knew what was going on in her neighborhood. Now that's what we all can do within our neighborhoods, is to look around and be aware of your surroundings and what is going on in your neighborhood. And when you see things that are out of order, then you do need to be a Mrs. Kravitz and talk to your neighbors.
But you need to not just put it on We Are Westside's Facebook. You have to call the police. You have to call your neighbors. But and I say that in jest, but I'm serious about it too. And that's it. I love it. I try to not troll on it too much because I get a little frustrated sometimes. But
okay,
I do. No, I'm sorry, but I'm saying call us on some of that stuff. You're right.
We know how to do all that. Now, I have a couple questions because I came to this meeting this evening to hear from the other people about what are they doing in their neighborhoods, but we need to hear what about the police. I'm Oakley Leonard area. We do not see you out there that often, and that's good. And I know if we need you, you would be there. But the west side, as far as I can see, the last 25 years has greatly changed. And Leonard and Alpine area is really bad. There's just traffic there. They're out at all hours of the night. The police need to be there, but we do need more police officers. That should be top priority. And they should cut through all the political red tape and get more police officers. And another thing, the news media has to quit bashing our men in blue. Our problem is the news media says all the bad things about the police officers, and if they keep it up, we're not going to get anybody coming into that profession. And you all do a wonderful job, so we all need to work with you, but I'd like to hear from other neighborhoods here. One of the things that we could see different is people are parking on the green spaces in the neighborhoods on our far west side. The housing codes say, no, that's not our issue, it's the police. When the police come by, we need money. Why do they not ticket these cars that are 4 or 5 on the green space? We need to educate the public to tell them that that's a housing code or it's a police department. Who is responsible?
We can cite the police department can cite them. We want to educate them.
They don't do it.
We do, some, believe me, because I see the tickets. So we do.
And
it's not about getting us money, Barbara. It's not, we don't write those tickets to try to get money for the police department or whatever. So just so you know that. But we do cite those people, but you are correct. We're not out on that upper far west side very often unless we get a call there, do some traffic enforcement, things like that. But if that's happened, call us. We can go, we try to knock on the door and say, hey, you can't park your cars. And then we try to get them educated and moved. If they don't, then we cite them. But we do, believe me. I know Tony's done plenty. You know, when I get those complaints or I get the voicemails or I get the emails, first one that gets forwarded right to Tony, hey, can you take care of this? And he goes and does it. And I know Shelley Weiss, who is our liaison to the housing code folks, she does a great job. She works her tail off. She's citywide. You know, that would be nice to have enough officers to be able to put one in each service area to speed up the process a little bit. But she's busy officer. So we're doing the best we can, but we do decide when we act. Just one. Sir.
Oh, just want to mention, talking about officers not being in the area. I don't know the numbers, but I think it's down over 100 officers from I don't know how many years ago. It's crazy that we're down that far. Also, compensation, they're having things taken away from them. I mean, it's actually pathetic what's going on. You have to talk to your city managers, one of them, and the city commission. And you have to speak to them. They're the ones who can make the difference. Dave mentioned snow plows, and that's not taken away from that job. Everybody wants more cars. Let's get a priority straight. Law enforcement is number one. And you believe that, so I'm not directing that at you, but the whole commission, you gotta get that right someday.
Yes, ma'am.
Two things I'd like to suggest. It's nice to see a big crowd here so we can get the word out to more people. Is other neighborhood associations like the southeast side and that they have problems in the alleys and stuff too. It'd be really nice. Properties are supposed to have an address big enough to see on them. Some of them don't have them. It is a housing code violation if they're not marked. If people have properties that abut an alley, it'd be fabulous if you could go put the address on the back of the garage somewhere where it's visible in the alley. It would help the police department. It would help those of us with the neighborhood association that do follow-ups and can't find some of these places. It's an absolute pain in the butt. I don't know how these guys do it sometimes. And another thing is, a lot of the problems happen. You drive through. You know, I live on the west side. You drive through like the lower west side, and people are poor. But you know, it doesn't cost that much to run a light bulb for a year. Most of the crime happens. It's dark. They like dark places. You keep the lights on at night, and they won't be out there crawling around and stealing stuff out of your car, your garage, and your shed, your backyard, your dogs, everything else. You know, leave your damn lights on. It's a simple fix, and it'll help more than just them. It helps us all. Because your neighbors are looking out the window and see too.
Could you introduce the neighborhood associations that these folks can connect with? We have the representatives here tonight.
By all means, I'll do that at the end. As we're kind of going, there's some paperwork on the tables, but yeah, thanks.
Okay, I agree with Marie saying that trying to leave your lights on. But I'm going to tell you what, when you get on Facebook and post that your car got broken into, your laptop got stolen, why leave your doors unlocked? I would rather pay for a broken window than try to replace a $500 laptop.
It's like you were reading my mind.
Us
West Siders, we kind of have that thing going.
I'm gonna let you know, I'm working on something myself. I'm getting police license plate numbers. I'm getting pictures of these trackers. They're going up and down the alley, scoping your house during the day. And then at night, whether you got lights on or not, they're coming in your yard and stealing.
There's something to be said of don't be a victim, and do not leave, doors locked or not locked, do not leave a $500 laptop in your car. Don't leave your cell phone in there. And I know, Captain, we talked about this last week, within the last few months, crunched the numbers, and somewhere along the lines of 70%, if more, of car burglaries, there was actually no damage to the car. So it's called a car break-in, but the car was not broken into, it was accessed. The vehicle was just accessed. The vast majority of these kids, they're not looking to create noise and shatter a window. They're going car door to car door to car door.
Right.
And they'll bypass 4 car doors that are locked to that 5th one that's unlocked.
But when you get on Facebook and advertise you leave your car unlocked, they come back and they know your car's unlocked. When you put the street down.
I saw a pretty good, like a public service announcement. I think it was somewhere either out of Tennessee or Georgia. But they put the logo right on their police cars. Lock it or lose it. Right on their police cars. A public education campaign to get people to lock their doors. Believe me, they don't want you to know they're there. They're not, rarely, I can't say never, but rarely are they going to break your window to steal something, because then that's going to alert people that they're there. They don't want it. They want to slide in, grab some stuff, rifle through the glove box, and get out.
I mean, I know you got professionals that know how to use the car jimmies and all those.
Most of them are crimes of opportunity, because it's some young kid on a bike who is rolling by and he sees the laptop sitting on the seat, and he's going to try the door.
I got neighbors in my neighborhood. I talked to them about joining West Van and getting involved with the neighborhood crime watch. They tell them, get off my property. I don't want to talk to you about it. And I go, the only reason why you don't want to talk to me about it is because you can't control your kids, and they're the ones out there vandalizing St. Peter Paul Church and that.
Right. So to go with that, kind of what Chris is saying, we all need to work together. I mean, we do. We can't just live in our little silos and in even our small blocks. It needs to be a little bit greater than all that, and get everybody involved. Get as many people on your block from curb to curb, or from street corner to street corner as you can. They try to get the block parties, and national nights out, things like that, where we can get our neighbors to show up and meet each other and to talk about what the problems are in your specific neighborhood or on your street or whatever the case may be, and getting to know your neighbors, and then working with the neighborhood associations and even your business associations to identify what you guys have concerns about, then they work with us through the crime prevention program.
Well, the word must be getting out, because I've noticed that a lot of drug dealers have moved off of Hamilton. The problems have moved off of Corey. It's quiet. You can walk around at night with your dog.
We're going to say that's all Tony's doing all that.
You're welcome.
The word's getting out.
Well, someone else who hasn't, go ahead, sir.
Hey, I didn't know that about the guns. I saw that you guys got those. I was just wondering, is there any plans in the future to get any more military surplus type stuff to you guys?
We don't use the military surplus program.
Okay.
Everything we do, we purchase through, and it gets vetted through the city commission with our budget. But we don't use that program that you can get retired military stuff. So we don't have any of that. But right now, as far as, I don't believe there's any other plans in the future other than we're getting our body cameras here. The next batch is coming pretty soon. And I don't want to get into a whole topic about that, but the officers are excited. They want them. Like I said, I worked in internal affairs for 3 years, and that exonerated 98% of our cops from false allegations and things like that. So,
I'm just going to interject in terms of that question. The city actually went one step further and drafted an administrative policy that if we go to look to acquire new technology for the police department, we need to go through city commission and needs to have a public vetting. So I think in terms of transparency, it'd be hard pressed to find an agency more transparent when it comes to acquiring new tools.
Thank you.
I just had a question about the mobile command center. If you could help me understand what it is, when it's used, and you know what.
It's a big bus?
Yeah, I mean sometimes I find that a little intimidating. I went to like a festival and I saw it there, and it just, I don't know, seemed a little foreboding for the kind of stuff that was there. But I just don't understand what it is, and I want to hear more about what it's used for.
Usually special events is when we bring that out. Festival, that New Year's Eve ball drop. Fifth Third Riverbank run.
Art prize.
Wasn't out this year.
Art prize.
Art prize that sits out there at next to the Park Circle. But what that does is that allows, on a larger event, we'll have a dispatcher working right out of there. So they're not chatting up a channel that they don't need to be doing that. And we can put all the requests and all the dispatch traffic go right through them, and they have the consoles and everything sitting there. Like for Art prize, we also acted as a information booth. We had one of our interns out there with flyers and pamphlets. We try to be as kid-friendly as we can. We have coloring books and stickers and all the little kid swag stuff that we can provide. Sometimes it'll be used if there's a critical incident, you know, a barricaded gunman or something, where we get real resource heavy and a lot of people that need to be in that location, that we can use that to hold meetings and we're kind of out of the elements if it's freezing cold or super hot, things like that. You know, we keep water in there for officers if they need it, but most of it's communication, and it just eases our ability to communicate by having that out there and a little bit more in the mix of whatever event is going on versus everything going through the dispatch. Who has this quote? I'm going to try to hit everybody before I go back and double up. Yeah, go.
As talking about speaking with your neighbors with anything, how do you approach them? We've approached them for being racist. We're approaching them and just some old white bitch asking them this. And I asked them, how do you approach people with different?
Well, unfortunately, some neighbors are going to be a pain in your butt.
A lot of it's rental, so they're coming.
We do have, there's a lot of turnover, some of the low-income stuff with landlords and things like that, or college kids, you know, Grand Valley, there's just a lot of turnover. But my suggestion would be work with the neighborhood organization. They have good tips and tricks, and they just try to be as friendly as possible. I don't have a good solid answer for you on that. If you want to try to, you know, just relay to them that you just want to work together and make it a safe neighborhood, you know, just try to maybe help them out when you can. You know, I don't know.
Or just say hi.
Try to be a good neighbor.
Just say hi to them.
Yeah.
That works a lot of times.
Well, we do say hi, but then they'll do like park in the alley and block, or their kids are screaming and it's midnight and they're like 5, 6 years old. You go ask them, you know, in the summertime, well, we're being racist, or we can park here, or we're not in the way, or, you know, it's just, and you're just going up and not trying to irritate them. It's just,
That's the time where you can call us. If you've already tried to talk to a neighbor, you know, we want you to try to talk to neighbors first. If you've tried it and it doesn't work and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, then you can call us, you know, or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But if you've already been there, done that, and tried to talk to the neighbor, it's just not happening, then call us and we'll go in and we'll talk to them ourselves. If it's something that we can handle on our own, we can do that too. But don't, like the captain said earlier, don't be afraid to call us when you need us, especially if you've already tried being a neighbor and it doesn't work.
You know, back to the Mr. Kravitz thing, I think that's great. We're all concerned about, you know, I think maybe the safety of our kids, ourselves. But every one of us has that one person that thinks that they are, Mrs. Kravitz or Mr. whoever, who thinks that they are the boss of the block. And most of the time that they want to interact with the neighbors to get their way with something. And usually that ends up in a fist fight or something thrown through the window or something. So yeah, great call. You know, if you don't have a good rapport with your neighbors, you know, maybe you're better off not communicating with that neighbor, but talking to somebody in particular that is sick or something. But you know, what I really want to know is why you know we leave, you know, our house has more security lights than I think our neighbors. The city just invested, you know, $1 million in this great skate park in our neighborhood, and it's great, and we draw a lot of good kids there now. But there's still only one light bulb that lights up that park, you know. And basically our backyard, our garage like this, we, you know, light for the park. So why is it the city can't take the initiative and light up the dark spots a little more efficient, a little more effective?
I don't know, but I can definitely get with the park structure we can work on.
Right. One light in an alley just doesn't cut it. You know.
There's not a pole with a light out, there's only one.
The problem with some of that stuff, if the park's lit up at night, then that's going to want to bring kids in at night, and the park's closed at night. So some of that we have to balance out how we're going to, you know, deal with that, because they're not technically supposed to be in there. So if we light it up, that means, hey, park's open and everybody's in there. So, you know.
I think that's the reverse of that. I think when it's dark, it's a gathering place, and that's what we see.
Yeah. Well, we can work on that. We're taking some notes, and I'll discuss that definitely. And I know Parks Director and the supervisor over there like to work too, so we'll get with them and touch base with you on some stuff later.
Mine has more of a like parking situation than that. We're an area that we have some of the odd even parking, and some not. And when you have a lot where nothing ever gets really done. You know, I've called a couple times, and somebody might come around once in a while, put a tag on a vehicle, and somebody will get out and move it 5 foot forward, and sit there and take the tag off. You keep calling about the same vehicles all the time.
It's still in violation. And some of that, you know, when it's snow and stuff, like I mentioned earlier, when the officers have downtime, that's when they're going to try to hit those unless there's a real big push. And with the snow and the cold weather, that is a priority. So
how about vehicles we can tell, but other people, even you or the seniors, whoever go around, can tell these vehicles got flat tires, they're sitting there, they're surrounded by a big snow bank.
You have to call us, and then we can put an abandoned sticker pad and move 48 hours, we can go it out of there.
Okay, sometimes
things like that.
Kevin, we could use 311 for that as well.
Yeah. You can put that on, there is a 311 app, and thanks, Tony, and that's one of my notes on here for like graffiti and things like that. The city has a program on, if you don't have the 311 app on your phone, you can take a picture of it, submit it, the city will come out. You have to sign off on allowing the city to paint over any graffiti that's on your property. The city will come, it's not always pretty. They only have a few colors, they're not necessarily going to match your paint scheme. They will cover up what graffiti is, you know, on a fence in a back alley or in a garage, things like that. But you have to sign off on it, and then you can snap a picture, and it gets there, and they try to get to them within 48 hours.
If you're not calling those guys the tag team, you're missing out on an awesome marketing opportunity.
And graffiti has been a big deal. We've downtown it was a real big deal. There was a couple folks that were doing the majority of the graffiti, and we've been able to get our hands on a couple of them. And one of them has been charged. We just caught a guy over the weekend over by the community college, physically spray painting the building, and we found he's been doing a lot of it. He's actually a roommate of the guy that we just arrested. So we're working on that. So that should hopefully stop some of that, but now the cleanup begins. We gotta work on getting some of that cleanup and getting restitution and things like that.
Are they young kids?
College age kids. They think they're artists, so.
Hi, where we live, we're on Lincoln, and there are some streets that have speed bumps and some that don't. How do we get speed bumps on our street?
You have to go through city streets and then engineering department and things like that, and they can do a traffic study. We're working through that over there. Officer Hintz is working over by Sacred Heart, things like that, trying to get extra stop signs. Sometimes though, a speed bump isn't the best tool, maybe a yield sign or a stop sign, but you know, human nature is if you slow down for the speed bump, you're going to speed up to get to the stop sign. So it doesn't always necessarily slow cars down for their overall speed in between the signs. But streets can look at that and they can actually do a study and they'll make a decision on that. Some people love them, some people hate them, so it's kind of a mix.
If it's a major fire truck route, they probably won't put it
Right,
on.
it depends on where they're going. I don't think Lincoln would necessarily be too much
They
of a
use
problem.
it for a cut through when they get off the expressway off lanes and around from between, right after 5 o'clock, it's like a speedway, so.
And sometimes a stop sign or a yield sign at another intersection might be.
Yeah, well, there's like 4th and 5th, so there's quite a few stop signs, it's just, I think the speed bumps would.
You get, if you want to see, see what I'm saying for it, but city streets, that's the department that you're going to want to talk with on that. We don't usually even get a say in much of that stuff on how they engineer that. We don't see our input very often on those. Once in a while, we get them involved, like we're trying to add a stop sign over at Garfield and Dayton, and then some other signage, you know, over by Sibley School and things like that, so we can work with them.
Circling back around to what was being said earlier, I just wanted to pick that up and emphasize that. I see what you're saying about community involvement, and I'm all for that. But I think that it has to start with the individual, and I think that it is a matter of culture. And I think we live in kind of polarizing times that offer clarification that we didn't have back maybe in the 60s or 70s because of all the cultural revolution that was going on back then. But I think that it really talks about where we want to be in the future and what we have to do to address the challenges of the present. And I see a lot of culture of criminality. I see a lot of people with very, very low standards. And I think it has to start within. And that our standards have to be raised. And we have to sit there and go, you know what, I'm not going to tolerate crime in my neighborhood. I'm not going to have, you know, all of this crap sprayed across my back window, or I'm not going to have a tolerant attitude toward violations of people, of privacy, of laws, of whatever. And we have to become really proactive and raise the bar, because particularly in the Lower West Side, there is layer upon layer of crime. And we have to do more than we've done for the past few decades, because while things have improved, in some ways, some things have never changed. And things have to get better. We're in a state of lines being drawn, and we're either going to tolerate this crap, or we're not going to tolerate it anymore, and we're going to bring up our standards, you know, and communicate that to our neighbors, you know, and talk to people and be neighborly. How's that? I mean, if you see someone moving in, bring them a cake. Welcome to the neighborhood. Talk to them.
I can't agree more, and I think that gentleman just said it, say hi to him.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah.
I think it starts there, and then again, moving its way out, getting the neighborhood organizations involved, and doing all that stuff. I agree with you. Sir.
One of the things I was talking to a friend of mine, and they're involved in going to Haiti and doing stuff through our church. And they started going down there, and they were doing stuff for the whole village that they were in, you know. And for the older people and that, but change their perspective on what they're doing. So they're concentrating on the kids. This is the same thing. We can't, you're not going to change the mindset of people that are, quote, committing a crime. They're doing it, they're going to keep doing it. They must like going back to jail or prison or wherever the hell they go. You know? You have to start in kindergarten, first grade, in that, like you guys are starting with young people to get a career in the police force. That's where you start. You know, you're not going to change. You might change one or two after a while, but trying to change this whole society with the parents and that ain't going to happen. For very, very little is going to happen. You got to start in the schools and tell the kids that, hey, you might want to think about something different, you know, because they see their parents doing drugs, they see their older brothers and sisters doing this and that, you know, and they think that's the way of life.
But the schools really can't do much about what's going on at home. They have to go to the proper channels themselves, like CPS or calling the police officers, and let them deal with the situation at home instead of, you know, the school going to the home. Let's see. The school should call Child Protective Services or an officer.
I think it has. I agree. I think it has to be. It has to be a group effort. It has to be a community effort where it has to come from the home. The schools have to then, you know, acknowledge it and work with the parents at home. To again, boils down to teaching kids respect and accountability at a young age. And we have to work together. We don't, believe me, you know what frustrates us all the time is we're walking around at the festival or something and there'll be a mom that'll say, "You're not good, he'll come and arrest you." That's awful. And I'm sorry if you've ever done it. I apologize if I offend you, but we don't like that. We want you to walk your kids up to us and say, "Hey, if you ever need anything, go to the police officer. They're going to help you." That's what we want. So we need to work to educate you know, families and parents and neighborhoods and working with the neighborhood organizations to work to get those kids into the right programs, the Boys and Girls Club, after school programs, Explorer programs, to start working and learning some of that self-accountability, responsibility, so they can, you know, be good members of our society and our communities and our neighbors eventually. So you don't have those pain in the butt neighbors, because they never maybe learned any responsibility when they were growing up. So it's got to be a group effort. We can't do it. You can't do it on your own. The schools need to participate, and everything else needs to kind of work together. So who else had right there?
You kind of here just mentioned to me that a parent person that wasn't able to come to their kids, they live close to the park on Douglas and Lexington, and there were a couple of homeless people having sex there, and there was other issues going on, and she thought of calling, and also she thought of calling, but she wondered how she was going to explain it to the police because she doesn't speak English. So I was wondering, maybe, do you know how many of your officers speak some Spanish?
I don't have a number. We do have several. We also, if you do call 911, we have the translation, the language line that they can give us, and it's just one extra, you know, it's a phone call we can make. Our dispatchers, our call takers will make, and get that language, or get somebody who speaks that language online, and then we can work through that. A lot of our dispatchers are trained. We obviously like to hire folks who can do that. Hold on a second. And we have, I don't know, generally on every shift there's 1 or 2 officers that speak Spanish. So we do the best we can. So, but call and just, believe me, they'll understand. And we want you to call for that stuff, because that's not acceptable.
The more they see you guys out there, the more they see you out here helping their community and different things like that, it'll turn around. And it is, like, unfortunately, is that way that parents have taught their kids, you know, to fear the police, like to have fear for them. When you see them run the other way or don't seek out, you know, but I've seen you guys out here and I've seen officers out here interacting with the kids and, you know, I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Who likes to see police officers walking around outside of their cars in your neighborhoods? See, you guys, I'm not lying. All the time, I'm like, get out of your car, they want to talk to you. Get out of your car. See, so now you know I'm not lying.
Unless I'm looking for somebody.
If you're driving past, make eye contact.
Right, and you know, and I'm making a little bit of a joke. We do try to get the officers out on foot, and they do drive by and their head's buried or they're, you know, looking at a computer screen or whatever. I mean, we try to be people. You got to remember sometimes though, from, you know, they are people too. They have good days, bad days, good moods, bad moods, just like everybody. We don't want them to be robots, good or bad. You know, they're people too, but they should still be. I agree with you. Just waving high once in a while, that's a good thing. So we're working on it. We try to get them out of their cruisers, not just downtown. I mean, if there's, I don't know how many miles, Ernie, where did Ernie go? He's hiding back there. He's probably put on, I don't know, thousands and thousands of miles on his bike, but he works downtown, so it's a little bit easier for him to be zipping in and out. A little bit harder for these guys in, you know, the lower west side or out here to be riding around on their bikes by themselves. So we try to get them out, we try to get them on bikes, you know, try to get them on their feet.
And in terms of those engagement opportunities, you may have seen we purchased some Segways this year. So with the warmer weather months, you'll see us out in Segways. We also just partnered up with the King County Sheriff's Office.
for you guys, right?
So increasingly,
The
we'll see
driving
some pushback as well. It's an opportunity for people.
You may not have a horse riding down your street.
You got to bring me in by the lab sometime. We'll get video of it. I was the first one to get tracked. Really?
But downtown,
Yeah,
some of our
people drove
events,
by.
they'll be
First of all, my name is Kevin Marcus, and I'd like to thank the Grand Rapids Police Department. They do an awesome job, and I have my blue structure thing around the telephone pole that tells you I'm here. I appreciate all you guys' work. But in your mission statement, I believe somewhere it should say, tell us and your officers and your lieutenants and everybody that we, the citizens of Grand Rapids, are your most important asset.
Amen.
We actually pay your salaries. And we appreciate everything you do for us. You're using your most valuable asset, your citizens. And so we as citizens have to help them out. We have to give them the support they need, and we have to, 100% of the time, be on the lookout for everybody, our neighbors, the person driving down the street, the little kid playing basketball in the backyard. We have to take the initiative to help everybody out. The teachers, the Grand Rapids School, they have a job. And it's rough on them. Police officers have a job to do, it's rough on them. Our job is rough. Living in the city of Grand Rapids is rough. Very rough. I raised my kids in the city of Grand Rapids. I was not raised myself in the city of Grand Rapids. And I look back on it now and 32 years later, it's like totally different. So that's why we, the citizens, need to, even if your neighbor don't want to hear about you, don't want to hear from you, kill them with kindness. Wave, whatever you need to do. Let them know you still are watching. And they're just a phone call away.
Thank you, I appreciate that, Andrew.
I have a question back to the transparency issue. I was at the event that was at Local Theater a while ago, and someone brought up that when there's complaints, it goes to the police first, and that the citizen report sees it later. Has there been any steps made to reverse that process or to refine that so that it's more transparent so that citizens see it before the police?
So you think the citizen review board should see the complaint about the officer before the police department? I'm just trying to understand that.
Well, Well, that's what was brought up in Wealthy Theater, that the police see it before the citizens do, so then you're in effect, the police are policing themselves, which is not very transparent, so I'm wondering if there's been any difference made in that.
No, it's a good point, and pardon me, jumping in, I was at the Wealthy Street District, recall on the stage. The reason they come to us first, the question is, why do complaints go to the police department first? If you make a complaint about the police department, should it go to someone other than the police department? Overwhelmingly, the complaints we get are procedural. So it's, why was I given 2 tickets? Why was I arrested? Why was the bond this? Why was I pulled over? So I don't want to give you a percentage because I don't know for sure that it will be accurate, but probably 9 times out of 10, they're procedural questions that we can resolve with an explanation. So rarely is it a question of the officer doing something outside of the scope of his authority. In those instances, when we make a determination, each case is reviewed by myself, Internal Affairs, the city attorney, and a representative from Human Resources. At the end of that process, if the individual is unhappy with the results, they have an appeal process where they can take that complaint to a citizens appeal board. So that's why it's structured that way, just to make sure that we've got a chance to look at it from a procedural standpoint, see if there's any training issues, if it's an issue with the officer, to make sure that we're doing everything right.
And the complainant gets a copy of the outcome, what the investigation found, and they get notified. And a lot of times that's kind of a personal thing. They don't, and then they can do with it what they want. They get mailed the results of the investigation, and they get talked to by the investigator. So they do find out, and if they don't like the answer, like the chief said, then they can move forward. If it's one of those complaints, but just about every complaint, I know, speaking from experience in there, when we're talking to the complainant, that investigator speaking with the complainant, we ask them, what do you think should be, what would you like to see happen based on your interaction with the officer? And a lot of times, they think the officer needs that additional training. Sometimes they'll say, oh, I want him fired. Well, that's just not reasonable either. But more times than not, they just want that situation addressed with the officer and then potentially some retraining. And we will do that if that's the case and the complaint is sustained, that's what we do. But the complainant finds out what the outcome was.
Hi, my name's Erica, and I've lived on the west side for 8 years now. And I think this is the first time that I've ever been invited to a meeting that was so broad in geography that encompassed the whole west side, which is awesome, and it's very exciting, I think. I think we're at a point of pretty unprecedented growth on the west side, and it's so important. I think back to some of the points that were made about relationships and understanding and respecting one another, no matter what our background, our ethnicity, our education level, our income level. How do we begin to reach out more and have more opportunities for relationship building, I think is really an important question for us moving forward. So I hope there'll be more opportunities like this. I also just want to say that I think a really important piece, a strategy to help achieve that mission is continued investment in community policing, because that is so relational. And when we know you, it's a whole different level of relationship and connection and a sense of safety. So I hope that'll be something that you continue to take a close look at.
To go back to the previous question about why things are not brought to the community review board first, you said it was 9 out of 10, roughly. I mean, obviously you don't have the correct stats, but are procedural problems? What's considered a procedural problem?
Sure. Everything from I didn't deserve this ticket to the amount that the warrant was set. More often than not, when we have a thorough vetting of our policy, to sit down and complain and explain why things were done the way they were. And I can give you some high-profile examples. We had a complaint that came out of Martin Luther King Park. An officer drew a taser, didn't deploy it, but drew it to gain control of a group of kids that were fighting. And I use the term kids loosely, I think they were young teens. We had a situation on Giddings that resulted in several arrests when the people attending the party refused a lawful order to shut down the party. We had a recent incident that made its way to Facebook when an individual who was pulled over refused to step out of the car. The courts have ruled that when you're given a lawful order to step out of the car in a traffic stop, you've got to comply. So in each one of those instances, the question wasn't an issue of integrity. It wasn't a question of use of force. It wasn't a question of why we were there doing what we were doing. Each call was, in each instance, we received a call that drew us to that issue. Having said that, the individuals after had questions about why things were done.
Thank you.
I have a question about that. What is the logic behind having the prosecutor be part of the review board?
It's not the prosecutor, it's the city attorney.
The city attorney, yeah. What is the logic?
Just for the legality of it, just to confirm there was nothing that the officers, on certain cases, well, the city attorney reviews all of the discipline that's doled out with the chief and labor relations and everything else in all the cases. But just from the legal standpoint, it's just another set of eyes from a different perspective than an officer.
See, like, you guys, like all these other festivals come in, like for Pulaski weekend, the Mexican festival, and stuff like that. And then I know there's a powwow for Indians. Why can't they have like a festival for the Indians? Because, you know, the Indians were, I'm not racist or anything, but why can't they have a festival downtown?
They would just take the initiative to do that. Most of the time, I believe they do that up on Park Riverside. They don't do it down in Calder like a lot of the other festivals. They do it at Riverside Park. Anybody? Sorry, Jerry, it took a while to get back to you. Joan, I'm sorry. That's,
One thing they need to do, you say you go to the schools, you need to tell them to teach those kids that they do not run across the street and jump in a snow pile. A child, about 7 years old, just about got it on Saturday, because that's just what him and his brother did. They ran across the street by my house. I was right out there. The kid jumped in that snow pile. He fell backwards onto Alpine, and there were cars coming. He was lucky he got up and got back up. He'd be dead because the car would have ran over his head.
And the parents would have been
And that, the schools need to teach these kids, they don't do that. And I said to them, you boys need to use
A lot of times the community officers who have schools in their neighborhoods, they talk to the principals and try to work with them on that.
Because they need to go to that crosswalk. There was no reason they couldn't get up that crosswalk. I cleaned it.
Well, just as community members, I think that we need to remember that kids are kids, and kids are going to be stupid, and they're going to do stupid things. They do stupid things.
I thought that was just my kids.
Well, I work in Boys and Girls Club, and so I know a lot of the kids in the community. And then a lot of my kids, especially my teens, stay with teen night. And in regards to the break-ins, they walk in groups, and it's not because they're looking for trouble. It's not because they are. It's intimidating. I drove past some of this, and they go with their kids, and they're not all of them are looking for trouble. They do it because they want to be safe. It's scary walking home at night, whether you're an adult or a child. And so if you see them walking home in groups, don't assume that they are trying to break into your car, that they are hoodlums. Kids are loud and they're obnoxious, and they're going to be stupid and swear, and you're going to get ticked because they look intimidating. But they're just kids, and they're just being rowdy. And granted, there are times where you need to call a community officer and let them know, but just don't forget that they're kids, and they're going to be stupid and loud, and that's just their nature. So I just think that that's important to remember as community members.
I have a few other things I want to just fire out there. some things that are going on the west side, some different things that have been going on. I took over the west side in March this year, so, you know, I've got to know some of the folks at the neighborhood associations. There's been some changes at West Grand, there's been some changes at J-Band, as far as their location, things like that. West Grand has had some turnover in their building and things, so it's important. I want to talk about to make sure it's important to get with those folks and meet with your neighborhood organizations and your crime prevention organizers. They have a lot of good ideas. They're a really good buffer between us, me, the community officers. So utilize that resource. Another good resource that I think is brand new is Westside Collaborative. That's huge. There's a ton of nonprofits, all nonprofit folks getting together to provide resources to try to do what they can. So if you get an opportunity to look that up, that's huge. We're working with a lot of the hard side folks, Meltrotters, Negligee, the United Way to try to get some of the homeless population into housing. We're really working hard to do that. We're working with MDOT to work with, working with MDOT to try to get better solution for the homeless camps that are under the bridges and under the overpasses. We're doing a lot of those things, working with all these different groups to try to get that population kind of better grasp in some housing, because it creates a lot of work, quite honestly, for us dealing with those folks. Some other good things going on, the Coffee with the Clergy, that's going on citywide. I think that's a really good initiative. Churches and synagogues and mosques and everything are invited to come and participate. Our next one's coming up, I think, on the 22nd, is that right, Chief? And that is going to be with Pat Miles, the Marshal for the Western District of Michigan. He's going to be meeting with those folks. Coffee with Cops still, they're just starting to get ramped up again as far as each neighborhood. I think they're putting them out. The next one, I think, is Ernie's downtown for that neighborhood. If you're in the downtown area, that's at Subway on Thursday at 9.
Wednesday the 27th.
Wednesday the 27th, next week, I'm sorry.
9 November.
And I know Tony's got one coming up, and Kurt's working on one, Jason's working on. So if you're not hooked up with your neighborhood organization, get online and find them, because that's where they're pumping the information out on Facebook, business association and things like that. One other thing that happened this year over on the west side, and that was predicated by a problem bar that we had over on Ridge Street, was the West Side Safety Summit, which was a great idea, and we were trying to come up with solutions to deal with some of the problems over along the Ridge Street corridor. And it kind of took care of itself for business moving out, but that was some really good dialogue with the community. Smaller group than this, but a lot of stakeholders, businesses, things like that, trying to figure out what they can do to be safe and work with us on some of that. So that kind of morphed into now we're going to do those on an as-needed basis. And they were held here at Rockford. So you have to be involved with your neighborhood organizations, your business associations. Provide them input. West Fulton, they're busy. West Leonard is busy. Stockbridge, that whole area is just booming. I mean, all these places, there's so much growth on the west side, but we have to be careful not to want to stymie any of that growth by being so caught up in what we think is right, but we need to all work together and let your associations know, your businesses know, let the city know what you like, what you don't like. They've had the meetings. I know some people are opposed to bike lanes. Some people are complaining about parking and things like that. Those folks in the city, the organizations, they need to hear that from you folks so that they can pass that along and get that dialogue started. I know the Leonard Street's going to get all resurfaced and change some of the parking. Some of the businesses aren't happy about it. The city's been to the meetings to talk about what they're doing and get some input, and they changed some of it. So they are listening to you. You just have to be vocal enough to let them know. So you have to get involved with it. You have to get involved with all those organizations. You have to get involved with us and be vocal. Because if we don't know it, we can't address it. And that's when going back to the don't just post it on Facebook. You have to call us. You do it. There's a problem in your neighborhood. You have to let us know. And we can't solve it that night, at least we can track that so we know, so I know when I'm looking at my numbers, my officers, and my complaints that come into the dispatch center, I know where to allocate my resources. If I'm not hearing about anything Barb up in your neighborhood, I'm not going to have officers spend a lot of time in there if it's safe, right? So I have to allocate them somewhere else. So if there's a problem in your neighborhood, we need to know about it. So then I can work with you to try to get officers out there to help you out.
Can I just say a little bit for clarification? I kind of learned the hard way myself, but like I called out a group of people one time, and then they moved, right before the officer showed up. And I was going, oh crap, I'm not going to run out there and go, hey, you can call the police department back and say you just called in this call and you need to be dispatched through the officer that's on the scene, and they'll put you through to him in the car and you can tell what's going on.
All the community officers have business cards. My information is on the city's website. If you need something, you have to call us. These guys are great. Call their cell phone numbers. City gives them a phone. They'll answer it when they're working. They have a pretty good schedule, so you may not get them on a Friday, once in a while, or on a weekend right now. We're working to try to change that, so there's always something available for you. They have the ability and the luxury to be a little bit more responsive than that non-emergency call. Make that phone call if you need the police, but once you get to know these guys and who your officers are in your neighborhoods, you can talk to them. You can give them a call, and I promise you, they will show up and they will help you come up with solutions, not just handle it. They'll work to try to educate. They may not always take enforcement action at the time, but they're going to try to do the best they can to make the problem work itself out. Okay, they're a great resource, and you have to use them. Anybody have? I'm trying to be respectful of everybody's time. It's 7:30. I'm getting paid. We can keep going. But honestly, if there's anything else, if there's something specific you need, you can get a hold of us afterwards a little bit, some one-on-one. We're coming up throughout the course of next week. Email, phone calls are great. I saw a couple more hands pop up right here. Right here, real quick.
Well, no, I don't want to answer that now, but this is really the reason I came to the meeting, because every year, this time of year, this problem, comes up, and it's got to do with city school. And I thought that was one of the reasons that we had this, that I heard there's something going on with parking of the street issue with city school. So every year, for an hour out of there, maybe 2 morning and pick up, this chaos.
We are working right now. I think we have the signage ready to be changed, and Officer Hintz over there, Kurt, has been working with city on that to change some of that on the north side of the street to make it no parking except for buses.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because we already have, two-way parking, but this time of year, it's odd even. And then from about halfway down the block towards, downtown, it's no parking, September to June. So I don't know why it's like that.
Change. Officer Hintz has a little bit more specifics. If you want to talk with him afterwards, Officer Hintz.
I think I know the officer. That's what we ticket. I'm straddling the pole that says no parking on this side. There's people parking for the hydrants, both sides of the street. Nobody, And I spoke with the officer. I saw him, walking to the car. I said, hey, we got, the food trucks here. We got heavy parking here.
We're trying to.
All the food distribution truck was there at the same time?
Yes.
That's insane.
And I understand, but I can understand the consistency there. But that same officer came through a couple days later, and the kids were just getting let out of school, and he's parked for a couple minutes, and then at the moment the kids come out, he goes down the street, telling them to move, and kids are coming to cars. So now you have.
Well, we have to change the culture there, and we're working on the education component too with the school. Because the parents need to be educated on when they should be picking their kids up. Because the buses can't get through, especially like you said this time of year with the snow. It's difficult for emergency vehicles. There's a fire truck needs to get through there. In the consistency part, I agree with you. We have to be consistent on enforcement. But we're trying to change some of that up so we can be more consistent. And it's not as busy and congested, and the buses are trying to pick kids up, because the parents should be going through the lot in the circle.
I'm just curious what busing, because because there's no bus.
There's one bus.
There's one bus.
We don't want everybody parked along there, so the
okay.
buses can't get through and things like that. That's what we're trying to work on.
Well, Captain, we should also not forget, when those schools are built, they were not designed for people to drive their kids and drop their kids off within 10 feet of the doors. Those schools are upwards of 100 years old. Those were designed for walking. And frankly, there's nothing wrong with some of the older kids walking a couple blocks to get there. I know at Harrison, they do what's called a walking bus, which is a couple of parents each week will volunteer, and they will take, the parents will drop off a block or two away, and then one of the parents will walk with the kids to the school. But ultimately, it boils down to convenience, and nobody wants to be cold, but those schools were not built with the idea of every parent arriving in a car.
And I talked with the principal. There isn't one student that lives more than a mile away from that school. It's a walking school. It's not for everybody to park and have their child walk 10 feet to a car. There's no parking means no parking. When you're not in a vehicle,
That's the reason for those signs. I mean, that's the bottom line.
the only citations I have written in that area are people that there's nobody in a vehicle in a no parking zone. When the vehicle is empty.
The school needs to do their part.
And we are. And that is key. You're right.
After speaking with the principal as well.
With the school also, it's not just you guys.
No, we're working with the school though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
To push the mass emails out to all the parents that are parking there and dropping their kids there when they should be pulling through and using certain drives or
You know,
whatever.
it's not that simple. I think it's naive to think that that's the way it works. Because the go through, most of the time, people just can't get out there. So you can't have, cars just line after line after line of cars. Now, also, I think the school attempted to talk to somebody about one-way street there, which makes sense, because I mean, I'm sure you order the cars just deadlocked in the middle of the street.
And that's why we're trying to take away some of the parking on the north side so we can actually reach people.
Is that gonna eliminate the number of cars using that? Or is it just gonna, complicate the problem? I think it's gonna complicate the problem. So I think if the city already has something in place, I think that this meeting is a little hard for the horse kind of thing, because I think that would have been something, a hot topic for people to have input in. Now we're just something else.
The reason we are doing some of that is because of complaints from the neighbors and the school. So there was some input, and I apologize if we didn't get to you, but there was some of that because of the complaints about parking along the north side. So that's what we're trying to address. So if we didn't get to you, I apologize for that, and we can talk about it, after the meeting, be specific.
Kind of,
real quick,
Has Myrtle and Anderson, have you gotten that back under control? I mean, because I've been welcomed by the SWAT team with rifles on. I've been.
We did have a pretty big incident over there.
Huh?
We did have a pretty big incident over there on this place. Over the summer.
So I just want to know, is it under control?
It's quieter, just simply and the only reason I know that, obviously I'm not out there at night looking, but I do know that just based on the lack of reports that I'm getting from there with troublesome kids or, problems. Still some calls pop up there, but it seems to me, it appears to me that it's a little bit quieter over there. Tony, he's not getting the complaints. I'm not reading the report, so I think it is a little bit quieter over there. But that call this summer was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Some of our officers had gun pointed at them when they were trying to help a mom out with her son, and so we had to lock down the neighborhood for a long time.
Then there was the one where.
Okay, get over there. I'll be there as quick as I can. They're like an hour early. Okay, bye.
I had blood all in my backyard, so that's why I wanted to know that was different. I think they ran to the garage on Anderson, down close to the car, and it all ended up running into the neighbors upstairs. So we didn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
we don't know what was going on. We never know, and it's kind of alarming to wake up to that.
Yeah, and I know that can be pretty scary. If you have the opportunity to talk to an officer that's on the scene and just say what's going on, or what should I be doing, or anything like that, by all means, reach out. You can always call the non-emergency line and ask them to call taker, and they will let you know. Just say, hey, they're staying in your house or whatever. Right now, this is what's going on. So, you have another
Yeah, mine was basically going back to a parking issue again. I noticed that by Harrison Park.
All right, guys, I gotta get out of here.
We have.
There you go. Who's here?
That's Gary.
I wonder if they locked all the doors, or unlocked all the doors.
Doors are locked, right? Yeah.
Both of them?
So like, we had to, she was waiting at 7:30 when I got here. She was standing out on the sidewalk waiting. I'm like, you're a tad early.
She's just eager.
Okay, cool.
She's the one that called me in the car.
All right, we're at the time, so I'm officially going to call it. I know Mike wanted to be here. He was at the other meeting, so I don't know what's up. My name is Chris Boden. I'm the president and founder of the Geek Group National Science Center, so all of this is my fault. And you are in trouble. And you're staying after. Come on in, have a seat. My name's Chris, and I am that rabble-rousing asshole on We Are Westsiders. That's me. And I don't know how many of you were at the other meeting, but I just spent the past thrilling hour and a half of my life watching Captain Matt be a punching bag for largely well-meaning but kind of dumb people. And there's a few impressive people in that crowd tonight. But it was a really good crowd. There was a lot of really smart people and a lot of really good people, and everybody, like, it was unanimous. Like, it was a positive experience. It was really cool. There are 3 priorities for the police in pretty much everything they do. And if you get a scanner, and for the love of God, get a police scanner. They're stupid cheap. You can get them anywhere. I will give you the frequencies. I will teach you how to program it. Get a police scanner. It's the best local news you'll ever get. But there's 3 priorities for police dispatch. Priority 1 means drop what you're doing and do this right now. Priority 2 means this is the next thing you do. And priority 3 is, by the end of your shift, just sort it out. What I want to do is do what we can to affect the culture of the West Side in order to help with priority 3, priority 4, knucklehead bullshit stuff. That it's a problem, it's a real thing, it needs to be addressed, but it's bullshit. There's a long way between, there's a dude in my house with a knife, versus, oh shit, spray painted my fence again. It's, yeah. We have, with the Geek Group, without really wanting it or asking for it, because we bought a city block of land, became a rather large voice in the community. We had all the same problems that all you guys have with the vandalism and the petty theft and all the knucklehead stuff. So our solution to it, because we're nerds, was to hang a couple security cameras on our building. We have over 180 security cameras in our system. The vision of this building reaches several blocks in any direction at this point. If you can see this building, it can see you. And there are microphones, and there is broadcast capabilities, and it's insane. Did the other one get out late?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I had to bail a little early. Should I wait like 5 minutes?
I think everybody's finally cleared out. We had to wait till
Yeah, because you were with, okay, that makes sense. Come on in, have a seat. Welcome to the weird. Okay. The other event was really big, and she's a presenter over there, so she had to stay late and clean up after everybody. I know her pain.
We had 72 people show up tonight.
Yeah? It was a good crowd. It was a good event. I was really happy. And that's the second time I've met Matt, and I like him. I really do. To see him stand up there and be a punching bag for dumb for 2 hours, just, man, he's got it. Tony and I were standing on the sideline, and we were doing the Statler and Waldorf thing through the whole thing. So.
Matt and Tony are your community police officers, and they want to see a neighborhood that is looking out for each other, and they want the crime watch prevention program to get off the ground. We now have Chai, who's fully trained and can do that, and we can do all the training, we do everything we need to do, and with Chris's help, get you guys the tools that you need to document it correctly, so when things do go wrong, because let's face it, evil's out there, people do bad things, we're not gonna make that go away. But if we can document it correctly and stick their folks in jail,
what I'm in here for. So what
we
we're
can do
doing.
it, but we gotta do it right.
Yes.
Otherwise, they're gonna get off the technology.
Yes, and it is fully my intention to make sure that as much as possible, this gets done in an orderly, proficient military manner. What we want to do is, as of yesterday, the Geek Group acquired a 100 megabit internet connection. We have two of them, actually. One is the internet connection that does the entire building and several broadcast streams and internet for the world here. We got a second one yesterday. Another thing that I got were these. This is a wireless access point. It's a little Wi-Fi hub. Most of you probably have one in your house, just not, this is one of those on steroids, with a much higher degree of reliability and a triple the size of your price tag. And we're very good at cameras. And we learned really early on that the proper deployment of security cameras with a properly watched system has a profound impact on our crime rate around here. Because right now at this moment, there's 180 cameras in this building. Inside, outside, on top, everywhere. And they're watching everything all the time. And like if you just look around this room, we're on one right now. Ed, kick me over. And we're on one right now that is broadcasting live, and you can be at home on thegeekgroup.org/live and tune in and watch. And it's that camera up there right now that's watching us. And there's microphones, and they can hear me, and they can hear you, and this whole meeting from the beginning has been being broadcast. What I want to do is take the technology that we already have, that we've invested giant piles of cash into making that work. Because, wow, our camera's not cheap. And to put this in perspective for you, just to give you some numbers, the little security cameras that you see up here, these little box cameras, generic security cameras that you see all over, a cheap, crappy one is $100. A decent one is $250. If you want it to move and not just be fixed, now you spend $1,000. If you want a good one that is IP enabled and shoots quality video, like 2 megapixel, you're looking at about $1,500 to $1,800 per camera. When you start now, if you want to put it outside, $1,800. So it gets expensive fast. But what I want to do is we've spent 5 years building our infrastructure, and we can handle hundreds of cameras. In fact, with the IP stuff, we can handle thousands of cameras. And we already have a central hub to broadcast this video. It's what we do all day, every day. We broadcast video to teach people about science and technology because we're nerds. What I want to do is expand the system using already our existing infrastructure so that you guys, it's like the adopt a highway thing. You adopt a camera. You host the cameras, and these cameras point at public spaces. We're not snooping in windows or any of that crap. We're not violating any privacy rights. If anything you can see from outside, you do not have a reasonable expectation of privacy. That's just how the world works. I spend my entire life on stage. Believe me, I know all about reasonable expectation of privacy because I don't get one either. But all the video would be fed through the Wi-Fi system that we already have, that we have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Wi-Fi for. And all you would have to do is power the camera. The camera and Wi-Fi unit uses about as much, well, it uses less electricity than that one light right there. So we're talking $5 a year in electricity, if that. It is not a major commitment. And you keep an eye on the camera. This doesn't mean you watch the camera all the time. All the cameras we feed back to central servers here, where we record all the video, and we hold all the video for the design spec that I'm shooting for is 1 week minimum, 30 days maximum. Because if you haven't noticed it by a week, you're probably not going to notice it. And we don't really need video that's a month old in most cases. If something happens, like somebody sets your garage on fire, that video file gets flagged, copied, we save it, send it off to the police, rah.
Would that be all wireless, or do we need to use our own internet?
You don't have to use your internet.
Oh.
Yeah, my goal is to do this all wireless. And as part of this process, we may be providing free Wi-Fi to people in the immediate area. If we get out beyond what we can reach with a mesh network, then we're going to have to use people's internet, but it wouldn't use an appreciable amount of your internet.
And then how far do you think that?
And it would use the upload side of your internet, not the download. And download is what everybody uses. Like when you're on the internet, 99% of the time, unless you're like uploading YouTube videos or something, 99% of the time, all you really use is your down. So nobody will really notice it.
But Comcast caps it usually, so
it depends. And there's fun ways around that, and we have friends at Comcast and Charter. So most of this area is Comcast. There's Charter a little west. But we have friends at Comcast and Charter, and I can make things happen with that.
Okay, good.
It isn't so much that they cap you, it's that they sell you things they don't have. But that's a totally different kind of thing. And I can bitch for hours on that one. Give me other questions. What do you want to know?
How soon?
I don't know. But we have the Wi-Fi technology. I'm waiting on the controllers. We just got the giant pile of hubs. I've got to get the brain units for them, because that's a hockey puck without its brain. And the brains get here within a week, then we have to have our guys tear into a reverse engineer system, learn about it, how to deploy it, how to make it reliable, all that jazz. Our second internet connection to do this, not only is already on, it's been on for months, it's stable, it's had the burn-in, it's good. That part's set. So I've got the infrastructure. The next step for us is getting into grant writing, because realistically to do this for phase 1, I'm looking at about $250,000 in cameras. Just cameras. That's a hell of a lot of cameras, but there's a lot of alleys, and the cameras I'm going for are fixed, not so much the pan tilt zoom stuff, because if the camera's fixed, I can say this is what it's looking at, and that's it. And if the scene changes, I can have it flagged. So I can point a camera at the back alley behind our building. We do this. This is an awesome technology we use. You can record video all day, all night from every camera. It uses gobs of hard drive space, and 99% of the time, there's nothing to see. What you can do with a fixed camera is in software, you make a map. So you say, okay, this camera's looking at the alley, but it also shows part of this guy's backyard, and there's a parking lot here. You can map out and say, okay, if anything changes in this area, which can be anywhere you want in the thing, let me know. Start recording video.
I've messed around with it a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else has. It's cool.
Yeah, it's neat.
You know,
so when the alley's empty and there's nobody there, there's no cars there, there's no video being recorded. You can see it if you log onto the camera, but it's not actually recording it to disk. But the minute a cat walks by, you've got video. Yeah, you've got video. So that's the kind of system I'm working towards. I'd like to do an initial deployment of at least 100 cameras just to get started.
Wow.
And it's a mesh network though, so it grows as we build it out. I don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars just running cable down telephone poles, because it's really expensive to do that. It can be done. You can. I mean, it's how Comcast does. And there's a lot of forums, and there's rigmarole with that. It's not a big deal, but it's a pain in the butt to run cable, establish the infrastructure. The good side is once we do that, it's done forever. It's paid. You pay it one time. And then we have cable down that street. And then we can put all the cameras that we want there. And then you do it a block at a time. It's a block at a time. Using the internet, we can put them anywhere in the west side, quick and easy.
So you say grant writing, I don't know what that, I talked to Liz a little bit about that.
Grant writing, the process for grant writing means we have a team of grant writers here. We're very good at it. We've put out 3,000 grant proposals since September. Just to give you an idea how much we do in
But
that.
what I was going to say is maybe we could go down to the Mint. Maybe the Mint wants a camera. Maybe, you know what I mean?
That's the thing I'm looking at, but I don't want to ask anybody locally for any money unless A, somebody stands up and says, shut up and take my money, or B, we have really proven it. You don't make a reputation on what you're going to do.
Okay.
I don't want to open my mouth and say, hey, I need everybody to chip in $50 to do this, until we've got the exact right cameras, the software is in place, we've really dialed through the vetting process. I want to take time to get our shit together. And my initial post on We Are Westsiders was just, I have an idea. What do you think? And the world exploded. So it was like, okay, they think it's a good idea. I should figure this out. And I have a lot of really smart people. Oh, hey, we're looking at one of the parking lot cameras. This is one of our potato cameras. This is what happens if you buy a cheap security camera. You get, it looks like it was shot on a potato. I mean, yeah, you can tell that's a car, and that's a tire, and you can tell that there's a person there, but in this lighting you wouldn't be able to tell if they're black or white, much less male or female. And it sucks. So this is why we don't buy cheap cameras. Next question. Go.
When you talk about like somebody sponsoring a camera or whatever, and it's all feeding into the same place, does that mean like one person will be able to look at the footage from that camera?
No.
Or everybody can just, like it'll be like SETI?
Kind of. Yes, SETI's not a bad analogy. And what we're doing, this is the rough idea. This is everything is subject to change. This is at the idea stage. We're still prototyping. This is my plan. If the camera's on your property, if you're sponsoring a camera, you can watch a damn thing anytime, day or night.
Right.
Okay, that's a user ad. That's easy.
But can we access what's going on to like the big three? Whatever.
Well, only stuff that you can see on your camera would be what's uploaded. Like if it's your camera, you can see it, and whatever you see on the camera, same thing we see on the camera. There's no sneaky stuff going on. It doesn't work that way.
She would want to see
But
everything.
you want to be able to see everybody else's camera.
Okay, like if somebody burns down my house and walks over to Mike's house, to Mike's camera, and I piss Mike off, and Mike's like, I don't want you to see my footage.
Mike doesn't get to control that.
Okay.
Why would I do that?
Tonight's meeting will now change over to let's bitch at Mike.
I'm glad I had a drink first.
But the way it'll work is the system is going to be as public as possible. It is not a good idea, as I have had explained to me at screaming volumes by no less than 20 people, to let anybody watch every camera. So this is how that's going to work. We do a process called vetting. It's investigate to discover. If you want to volunteer at the Geek Group, two things happen. One, you sign your life away. And two, you get vetted, which means we're going to look you up through some really nifty technology stuff. These are simple things like iChat and Vine and a million other stuff, but we're going to look you up and make sure that you're not a child molester or a bicycle thief or whatever the hell. We're going to make sure that you're kosher. It's not 100% foolproof, but we're really good at it these days.
What if you're a changed bicycle?
Then we'll sit down with you and talk.
Okay.
Because just because you have a criminal record is not enough to get you disqualified.
Okay.
Because I have a criminal record.
I was kind of an asshole.
So was I.
It has been said.
So the vetting process is going to prevent people from saying, hey, I can't see her.
The vetting process is going to prevent people from, having creepers stalking young girls walking home from school and stuff like that. It's not going to be 100% foolproof, but it's a reasonable measure.
And it's still public space, though.
Yeah, it's still a public space. All the cameras are viewing public space where nobody has a reasonable expectation of privacy. You're not going to see anything on any cameras that you wouldn't be able to see driving down the street. That's the idea. It's just, this is a really good way to, it won't stop crime right away. After the first year, it'll put a hell of a dent in it. Because it's going to build a reputation. And once people know that Big Brother's watching, they quit doing stuff. Because that helps. The downside is, and you will find this to be universally true, criminals are stupid. I have had people walk up to the back of our building, and I've got video of this kid. I have had people walk up to the back of our building holding a 4x4 fence post, look into the camera, and then throw the post through the glass door. People are dumb. And you know that they're dumb because they're walking up violating the simple fact of understanding that actions have consequences. The problem is, and I've seen this on We Are Westsiders. I've seen this happen, and oh God, I like my ass up. I have seen people get on We Are Westsiders and post pictures of, look at this, this dude's breaking into this house. And you comment and say, did you call the police? No, I'm too busy posting pictures on your They're not psychic! So, yeah, the idea is to just establish this as a super duper neighborhood watch. We can do things beyond that. The cool thing, because the cameras work over the internet, they're portable because the internet is everywhere. We can specifically target deploy cameras to, hey, this dumpster keeps getting kicked over, or there's a rash of kids breaking into cars in this exact neighborhood, because a lot of this is really, really spray painting our building, including on the roof. These kids are kind of dumb. We have cameras on the roof.
Who can see your spray paint on the roof, though?
Huh?
It was up on the side there, wasn't it?
Yeah, if you're in front of the building, there's a big white square up there where the city, if you call the city, they will come and take the spray paint off your building. Well, brick is like bread. It's got a hard outer shell, it's really soft and chewy on the inside, and if you put paint on brick, it's forever. So the city showed up with a couple dudes, and they took care of the spray paint on the wall by painting a giant white rectangle. Thanks! Appreciate that. So, it didn't take us long to find out who the kids were because they lived 3 houses away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it turns out, once we caught them, all the problems with spray paint in like a 3-block radius just stopped overnight. So, that's how we got into this, was fixing our own problems. And it worked for us. And I see all these people with all these petty, knucklehead, priority 4 problems. I'm like, this is bad and easy to fix. Let's do the same thing we did here that we've tested, that we've proven, that we know how to do on a larger scale. We can do it with the adopt a camera thing, where like if he wants a camera in his backyard, done, cool. And we can do it where she's having a problem with kids stealing bikes at the nonprofit she works at, so we can just deploy a couple of cameras. For certain things, like there is a neighborhood watch. We have a neighborhood watch, and they're precious. I've met the neighborhood watch, and they're good people. Okay, these aren't bad people. These aren't stupid people. These are good people, and their heart's in the right place. But I met the neighborhood watch. It was 2 soccer moms driving a minivan. This is not intimidating. So I want to get with any organization, any local community organization who wants to be a part of this. I'm there. I'm eager to work with them. Anything that we can do to help this be done better, I'm there. Any ideas? I want to hear them, because I'm not a god. I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers. I got a huge collection of really smart nerds who are really good at solving technical problems. Okay, that dude has forgotten more about personal computers than any of you will ever know. It's what we do. And where we can apply this to help the community, awesome. But the bigger picture stuff takes all of us. And the biggest problem we have, I've just sat in a meeting for an hour and a half, and I left early because I had to come here. For an hour and a half. And the first half hour of it was 20 people asking the same question in different ways. It's not, we need more cops, we need more money for more cops, we need more money for more guns for more cops. That isn't it. It's a culture problem. It's the culture of having an entire generation of young people whose mantra is, I don't give a fuck! It's on TV! This is the battle cry of the modern generation. It's chosen ignorance. They ratchet up, so the cops ratchet up. They ratchet up and the cops ratchet up. And then we get what we have now. What I want to do is try and dial it back. What I want to do is try and fix the single greatest detriment to modern society that we'll never get rid of, so let's start using it. But we all have these now. You walk outside tomorrow, you walk down the street, and any person you see walking down the street, 9 out of 10 of them are doing this. They are! You've all seen it. You go somewhere, like the meeting tonight. I got there early, I was sitting in a meeting, and I watched 50 people file in. And the first thing most of them do is sit down where you're don't talk to the dude sitting next to you, who obviously cares about you. No, look at my phone. I want to get people nosy. I want to get people, because I've hung out on We Are Westsiders, you're very good at getting up in other people's business. Just saying. I want to get some of that culture instilled of get involved. Don't walk the other way. You see something happening, call it in. Get involved. It starts with us. This is how it happens, because there's like, how many cops for the West Side? Maybe 20, 30, 50? Okay. There's thousands of us, and I want to get people motivated in those actions in order to take healthy, safe, and responsible action in your local community. I am not advocating vigilante justice at all. I'm not saying we should band together and form lynch mobs and posses. Fun as that may be on certain occasions, that's a bad idea because it ends up with civilians getting shot. Something I'm curious about, how many of you have a CPO? Cool. If you don't know, you don't have one, but okay. It means how many of you have a concealed pistol license? I carry mine in my bag. But the Geek Group universally across the board has a 10% discount for anybody with a valid CPL or with former or current military service. Anything I can do to get people to get into self-responsibility, safe and practical handgun ownership, it matters, it helps. Okay, I get a lot of flack because people judge me by the job I have. I'm the president of a nonprofit organization. So they automatically, they hear that and they think, oh, bleeding heart liberal pussy. No, I carry a gun. I'm part of that crowd too. I want to do everything I can to be as open as possible, to make this an open source thing, which is why I want everybody who can view the video to be able to view it. The primary purpose of this is crime prevention, deterrent, and evidence gathering. Because you'd be amazed how well video works in court. And it's really, really awesome to be able to say, that's the dude, he's right there stealing the thing from the car, and when the judge sees that, he's going to jail. There is, do you know where the letter is that was printed out? Moose, I'm going to look. I'll be right back. Everybody think of a question.
So no, I don't. Okay, it's been found.
I did not steal everything. All right. So this is a thing you should know about. Some of you may not have figured this out yet. I'm kind of a pain in the ass. Tony, who is an awesome guy, Tony Leonard, Officer Tony Leonard, is our local neighborhood police dude. Okay, really awesome guy, stand-up guy. I love him to bits. I've met him a couple times, and he's cool. First off, he's funny as a rubber crutch, but he's just genuinely good guy.
Yeah, I got to talk to him at his meeting. He's
good people. He turned me on to this. Are any of you familiar with this? Have you heard about these?
For businesses, aren't they?
Hey, you can get them for residential too.
Oh, you can?
Yeah. Now, this is...
Can I add something?
Go.
If you put a no trespassing sign on your property and you register that with the Grand Rapids Police Department, and somebody comes onto your property...
Hang on, I'm going to explain it all, but...
But I'm just saying, if somebody comes on your property, you call the cops, they get arrested. Done deal. There is no if, and, or but about it.
There's more to it than that, though.
But, I mean,
And
that's
this,
the...
I'm going to explain it because there's bigger issues at play. Tony turned me onto this, and I was talking to him about it, and there isn't a liquor store on the west side that doesn't have one of these. Okay. And what this is not just a no trespassing sign. I strongly encourage all of you to go to Menards or Home Depot or Ace or wherever. Coochie's, West Side. Okay. And get a generic no trespassing sign. Call the city and tell them that you have installed a no trespassing sign. Leave it at that. Because the city has this. And it says, conditions of entry. This property is reserved for use by patrons and customers only. This is the business version. No entry or remaining on premises for any purpose unrelated to this business. No entry after business hours without permission of owner. GRPD officers are authorized by owner to enforce all violations of state law and the Grand Rapids City Code on this premises. Okay? Violation of any stated condition may result in arrest and persecution under GR Code, rah, 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 rah. So here's what Tony told me. Because I sat him down in my boardroom, he came out to size me up the other day, which was fun. And this is how he explained it to me. If you have some young hoodlum, obviously shifty, walking across your back parking lot, he steals, check his pocket, walking across your back parking lot with a backpack full of spray paint, and a cop is sitting across the way, that kid is not breaking the law. The cop can't do anything. If that kid opens his backpack and takes out spray paint, and spray paints the wall, he's now breaking the law. The cop can do everything that cops normally do in that situation. But if you have one of these on file with the city, the cop can walk up to that kid, and if he's got a backpack full of spray paint, he's going to jail. There is a large number of people in the world who would think this is an awesome idea, and that that's how it should work. I don't. I have nothing against an awesome police force, and we have an excellent police force. They are overwhelmingly good guys. I have a problem with this silly business written in blue down here, because when you read this letter, when you sign this letter, this, to a judge, gets really, really easy to make your Fourth Amendment go away. And I kind of like that whole Fourth Amendment thing. I'm all for cops. But I'm 40 years old. I'm a grumpy old sumbitch. And I am old enough to know that unless you are white, 6 years old, and lost, the police are not your friends. Under all other circumstances, approach with caution. All for the officers we have, and they're good guys, but this is too much. This is unnecessary. When simply putting a no trespassing sign on your property that you can get, they're a buck a piece up the street. You can get them all day long. Hang one of those out, register it, and you're set. Go.
City will not register a no trespassing sign.
Why wouldn't they?
They will not.
Yes, they will.
They will, but not a regular sign you go to the hardware and buy. They already told me they will not do it.
Tony told me he'd do it with a regular no trespassing sign.
There's a letter.
Tony told me they would. Pete Clyde told me they would.
I'll check into it,
There's a letter.
and we'll find out. But I'm pretty sure they will. But I'll do the homework and check into it.
I guess my question is, if you got a no trespassing sign, who cares if you got it registered with the police?
It doesn't really matter. The minute the sign's out, it's enforceable.
Well, that's what I thought.
Registering it with the police just lets them know it's there, because unless you're fanatical with it and put one like every 6 feet around your property, they might not notice it.
Yeah, I just had a couple. I do have a couple.
Any other questions?
See you later, Dennis.
Go.
Cameras go on public poles or on private property?
Private property, if I can figure out the process to get them on public poles, I will. Because we've agreed to provide the information on them to law enforcement, that might be something I can get away with. The problem is the city won't have direct control over them, because I'm not stupid. And because of that, they may not let me put them on city poles. It's entirely, because they own the pole. Go.
Big brother aspect of it.
The camera isn't the problem. The problem is what happens to the data. If Steelcase wanted to come in and say, "We love you all, and we're going to put cameras everywhere, and we're not going to let you look at them, but we're here to help. Run like hell." I'm as paranoid as you are. So the only way I could, because I thought, what would I want? The only way I would let this fly is if it's as public as humanly possible. Any cameras on my property, I get to see. It's on my property. Any other cameras, I want to be able to have a process to where I can see them. The trick is, how do you do that? How do you make it totally open source and keep the creepers out? Because you don't want that. You don't want people to be able to turn the system back on itself. So the trick is, have a vetting process. And that's the only way, it's the balance. It's not a perfect solution, but if you can find a better one, I'm all ears. Hit me.
Just so you know, actually all the utility poles are
Yeah.
owned by Consumers Energy. Every single one of them.
Cool. Then we have an in. I do dirty, dirty things with electricity. Come see a tour sometime. So I have a lot of friends very high up in Consumers Energy, and we work with their foundation, so I might be able to get it in.
So cable and phone rent space from Consumers
Yes.
Energy. That's how that system works.
Does the city rent the space for their streetlights then?
No.
The streetlights?
They might. The city might have their own poles. For a lot of things like for signs and signals, the city has their own stuff. They're located at Wealthian Market.
But all the poles that hold utility lines, those are all owned by Consumers Energy.
Because right out front of my house is one.
But there's other poles that are for like traffic lights and stuff like that. Those aren't necessarily.
Oh, I was just talking a street light. Like
Yeah, just a
overhead
regular.
street light.
That's Consumers. Yeah,
Oh,
regular creosote pole in your front yard is probably Consumers. Look at it. If there's power lines on it, it's Consumers.
And anything that is in the vicinity of the freeway where the on-ramps are, any of that stuff, that's all owned by NDOT.
Excellent.
So the city has no control over that. That's why the city workers are not allowed to go up under those.
Could you call the city to replace the street lamp?
City
that's
handles
up?
signs and signals. Yeah, they handle.
No, I'm talking just the overhead.
Yeah, they've probably got an agreement with all guys.
Right, but MDOT controls everything from the freeway.
Okay, which is cool because Mink is MDOT, so we've got a big end there. And he's an engineer for them, so cool. Go. Oh, hang on, you were first.
I want to know how big the area you're envisioning.
I don't know.
Yeah, what
This could
what
be
is west
something
side?
where we put out 50 cameras and people hate the idea and it doesn't work and it fizzles. It could be something that works amazingly well and we end up doing the whole west side.
I know this particular area really well. I lived here for years, but that was years ago. Loads and loads of alleys on this side.
That's the problem.
Now I live over by Merchant Park. There's very few alleys over there.
There's a lot less crime over there too.
There's a lot less crime.
That, you just cross Leonard, it's a whole different world.
It is sometimes, but we have the occasional things going on in our neighborhood too. Most of it is kid stuff. People trying to break into your cars, break into your garages, things like that. But I'd be willing to put one up in my area, but I don't know what you're gonna see, because we don't have the alleys.
Not see
We don't
anything.
have the nooks and crannies like you all have here.
My primary objective to start out with is in our own backyard because it's a maze. And it is, and the further you go that way, the worse it gets.
Sure.
But because of the way we're designing it, with it being over the internet, there is a lot of leeway where if your house is 6 blocks that way and we don't have anything between you and I, we might be able to put just a camera there. What I don't want to do is have somebody decide that this should replace their own private security system and want 8 of our cameras on their property. That's stupid. What I want to do is say, this is a target, this is a problem area, let's fix this. I don't want to blanket the entire west side with cameras. I'm not looking to recreate London. I want to hit the bad spots. And that's going to change and evolve and move, so I want to design the system so that the system can easily evolve and change and grow and move, because it's the only way it's going to work.
So would this all be broadcast continually, publicly?
Yes. But you'd have to have a login to get in, and you'd have to be vetted to get the login. So it'd be publicly, but not. Anybody with a login can access the system, but before we're going to let you in the system, first, we're going to make sure of some fundamental stuff of criminal history, things like that. We're going to check your address and make sure that you live in the thing, because I don't, if you live in Ohio, you're not going to get a login to the system because you have no reason to be in there. So it's going to be curated.
Live or own a business? Probably.
I'm okay with either.
Okay.
Yeah, but you
You
got to have a valid reason to want to watch.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, you got to have a valid reason to want to watch it.
There's also a possibility of doing audit logging on logins.
Yeah,
so
that's
we
easy.
can have a list of what someone's seen. So if a bad actor does get into the system and starts following a series of cameras down, and we suspect something's going on, we can see what they did when, go back and go, wait a minute, what are you doing here?
You could tell if he was following a little girl or
Yeah,
looking at
yeah. There's accountability to the system. You can do that with all the logins. Hit me.
2 things. There's a guy in the French Quarter of New Orleans that does this. So that
Really?
would be a good resource. I can get you his name and
Do you
stuff.
know it?
Just through Facebook.
Okay. Send me links. I wanna look into this guy.
And he's like former police officer, he's former FBI or something too.
Okay.
He's pretty, he actually, because the police down there are so crooked, he actually.
In New Orleans?
In the French Quarter. And he's catching like crimes, like murders and
Okay.
attacks in the act and calling the police to go there. I mean,
Okay.
it's crazy. But then the other thing is, so I live by Richmond Park too, so it's not a super crime area, but I think you would get all of us to sign a petition to say we want cameras in the park by the basketball.
Oh, God,
courts.
yes.
Those courts are freaking horrible.
Over Richmond Park?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, you'd be amazed how much of the time I have a camera in the air over Richmond Park. We have a RC Aeronautics lab down here, and I fly out of the park all the time. And it's a totally normal thing. At night, I'll be bored, and I'll fly off the roof here over the park, because it's just a couple blocks, it's right there. I'll fly off the roof here, over there, and back. So like if you ever look up at night and hear like just a funny whistling noise and see a giant 6-foot white bird, that's me.
Somebody's posted about that before.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to miss a 6-foot sailplane.
But all of us that live there, even like nobody plays basketball that lives there. It's all people from out of the area. Come
Really?
over. Oh yeah.
Because I see people playing
I see people, she moves there all the time.
I have neighbors on both sides of me, because I live directly across from the basketball court.
Okay.
Both young, like, what, 20, 30 something black guy here. On this side, it's like a Hispanic guy who's 40 who has a teenage son. None of them play there.
Okay.
Because they say, and I asked for Sean one day, I was like, do you play over there? And he goes, hell no, there's too much drama over there. So, I mean, it really is. It's people coming from out of the area and
Okay.
making trouble. I see people who run from there.
The initial the initial response I've gotten from the local law enforcement was absolutely overwhelmingly positive on this because it helps them with evidence collection. And if I can get city cameras on your house pointed at the park is easy. So that's because that's just a bullet camera.
Yeah.
Go.
Do you have a place where you would like us to sign up, like where our home is and what we might possibly...
That is not a bad idea.
That way,
pen and paper, please.
That way it would at least give you an idea of those here that
Yeah.
are interested.
We'll start collecting
neighborhoods
names,
they're
addresses, and phone
interested in.
numbers, and we'll make a map. Go. Oh, sorry. Go.
And you'd also mentioned about possibly helping out maybe some other people who might not be able to afford to help out with the camera. And maybe there would be a fund to help out individuals in that way.
Yes. We have here, behind the building, we have a live broadcast truck. We use it for our live stream and that. We're also increasing our vehicle fleet this year because a fire truck isn't enough. And one of the things I'm looking at doing, we're really good at getting vehicles donated. I want to get a generic minivan and kit it out as a portable surveillance system that we can have. Probably one of your neighborhood watch people would be really good to recruit into this.
I have to be somewhere super early tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.
Get that on.
So if I could just get like 2 minutes of time.
Go.
So my name's Annette, and I work at the West Grand Neighborhood Organization. I've been there about 3 months. Before that, I worked at Steepletown as the intern, so I knocked on lots of doors and whatnot. My son works at Blue Dog. My daughter's buying a house on Jeanette. My sister lives over on McReynolds. And we live up in Preston, but I love the west side, and so once I get all my kids out of the house, I'm moving over here. But I have a half dozen kids. So, but my focus is building relationships with each and every one of you. I'm also a Navy veteran, and so my husband's a Marine Corps veteran. And so our focus is community and building relationships and leaving a legacy for our kids and our grandkids. We already have 2 grandchildren, and we want to make sure that they have a safe neighborhood and a wonderful neighborhood to grow up in. And that's why we care so much, especially about the West Side, because the West Side's a great neighborhood, and there's a lot of great things going on here. And we already have 24 identified neighborhood block captains, and the goal is with each block captain, as that person would then create a phone tree. So as soon as somebody on that phone tree sees something going on, they can call the rest of the phone tree and say, hey, we saw this car with this plate number, or we saw this person wearing this hat, or whatever. And then everybody starts looking and seeing what's going on and what they're trying to do, and starts documenting that. When the police see that other people are documenting that, and that information gets to them, if something does go wrong, just not besides this camera evidence, because this camera evidence is
part of the
awesome.
system. Yeah.
It's part of the system. But it's for some reason, if that lawyer gets that stupid camera thrown out for some reason, because you never know, we got other documentation. And when we have witnesses, it's hard to get rid of 20 witnesses, because he's got to go through each and every one to get rid of. So the more evidence the cops have to document what's going on in your neighborhood, the better off we're going to be equipped to get rid of these criminals. And then they're going to be like, wait a minute, we're not going to the West Side. It's you.
It's part of the culture thing. It's getting
so it's
people
holding
involved.
people accountable. And when you get out to know your neighbors, to say, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. I'm glad you're here. Here's your neighborhood captain. They're not available right now, but I want to make sure you know who they are. Here's how to get a hold of them. Our goal is to equip and have a block captain on every single block in the West Grand by this time next year. And so our next meeting for that is going to be at Stocking, but we want to hold one here too. We're working with Chris on that. We want to partner with you guys. We are your neighborhood organization. We are not your voice. We amplify your voice. So when you have a problem, if you tell us, you tell Chris or Mike or whoever else is one of your natural community leaders, we can make things happen because we stand together united and we can go, hey, city, this needs to get fixed and it needs to get fixed now. But we can't do that without you guys. We are to amplify your voice. And if there's a bad policy, we're there to help change a bad policy. We're not there to say you have to do it this way or you have to do it that way. If you see something broke and you think there's a better way to fix it, we're there to help you fix it. We're there to help change things and make things better. We're not there to tell you how to live life. We're not there to dictate or be a puppet for the city either. We do get funding from the city, but that's not the reason we do this. The reason we do this is because we want to be there for you. And so I'm going to leave. Chai is going to be doing training, so everybody that's trained will have a neighborhood watch identification card.
You're a superhero.
And then I also have business cards, and I also have neighborhood guides. I also have...
Are those the criminal chinchilla guides?
The code enforcement.
The criminal hedgehog guides? Is policing
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a few of these. We took a bunch of...
I wanted to bring something up, not to interrupt, but me and Chris talked about CBs. You talked about phone trees. By the time you phone tree, blah, 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 if everybody's on the same channel, you pick it up, hey, we got a white car.
It's something I'm kicking around into research.
I know, but it was just, I wanted to...
Almost everybody has a phone or a text. So if everybody's got a text, you can use one we already have, and almost everybody has unlimited text.
And something I want to touch on, a lot of people don't really know who Annette is, and a lot of people have a less than favorable opinion of the West Grand Neighborhood Organization. Understand, she's brand new. She's steeped in the community, but in her position, she's brand new. She is not the woman she's replacing. And a lot of the headaches and strife and infighting and petty bitching and all of the fun things I have heard about the West Grand Neighborhood Organization, I have hope for this woman. She has a giant headache ahead of her, and I do not envy her job.
I don't put up with drama, so if you're going to come in and do drama, I'm going to say, I'm sorry that you're having your rough day. When you're ready to sit down and talk and we'll discuss solutions, come back.
I think a lot of it is you're actually going to do something.
Well, I want to work with each of you. I'm just here to amplify your voice, really. I mean, I did that for my fellow sailors and Marines, and I'm going to do that for my fellow citizens. We are in this together, and we can't do it without each of you. So I appreciate your time tonight. I'm sorry that I'm really exhausted. I just got out of the hospital a couple weeks ago. But I do want to leave some of these neighborhood guides. We have more available. Please use the 311 app. And just be a neighbor and get out and get to know your neighbors. That's the big thing. Get off your phones and get to know your neighbors. Have an actual conversation. It's all about relationship and accountability. And if you don't know that person and all you're doing is talking on Facebook, you don't have a real relationship. You gotta get out, you gotta connect. I met Mike tonight, I met Chris a week or so ago. These are great guys who really care about your community, care about what's going on, and you guys are all here tonight, so that's a testament that you all care about the neighborhood as well. And I bet there are a lot of other people just really late. So we want to definitely get together with you and have another
set
meeting.
stuff out on the table and everybody can take whatever they want.
There's a few people here that weren't at the other meeting because this was later. And I was gonna bring that up at that meeting, is people that work, maybe first shift, I usually get out
shortage
at
of
7
people
o'clock.
at that meeting.
No, not at all.
We want to have meetings at night, later at night. We also want to have some early in the day because not everyone works the same shift.
Exactly.
And we also want to do like some Saturday stuff.
Yeah, Saturday's good.
But not
They do like
necessarily
7 o'clock,
Saturday
I get
morning,
out
like
at 7.
Saturday afternoon, and maybe do some pizza and whatnot.
And I can host any type of community gathering stuff you guys want to do.
And Fran
I'm
Senior,
first in line to host it.
and the Mitten, and Long Road, and Two Scots, they're all like, hey, if you need food for these events, let us know. I mean, they know we have to eat. So, and they're all behind this community. Yes, they work for business, but they also know without a great community, their business isn't going to exist. So they appreciate you coming in. Well, you got to keep it local. And that's what we want to do. We really want to keep it local. We want to keep everything within the city of Grand Rapids. Like the People's Cider House is coming in. Those applicants are coming from Sparta. And so, and he wants to hire people that are on
Where's
the
that
west
gonna be at?
Huh?
Same corner as the Monroe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so.
In the gyro shop.
Right next to the gyro shop, so.
Oh, where the gas station was?
You know, there's an empty space next to the gyro shop?
What they happened was the landlord cut that space down to
Yeah.
a little bit smaller because he wanted to get something small in there. And it's perfect for a tasting room for maple cider. So that's what that's going to become. And then the gas station is becoming some commercial space with parking lot, but also above that commercial space will be mixed income housing. So, and then there's also, so I just found out today, there's 60 some units going in over on Front Street, and 21 of those units are designated for chronically disabled homeless veterans.
Cool.
So,
Nice.
which is awesome because I love hearing about that. And then the other thing West Grand is going to do is we have computers set up, and I'm trained in the Social Security program. So people can get Social Security disability if they're entitled to that. I'm also trained in the Veterans program, so people can apply for their compensation. And what's the other one? Oh, My Bridges. So I'm trained in all three programs and how to execute those and make sure that they're not waiting 90 days or 200 years, it feels like, for benefits. I know how to expedite those things, and I'm going to train other people on how to do that. So we have other people to do that, and then hopefully we can have somebody here because he's got a computer lab, and when people can access benefits, that reduces how long.
It's more than that. I'm working on a program. We do a thing, a lot of you, if you're really local or really familiar with this, just sit them right at the table there.
So thank you all for your time tonight, and I hope that all of you, thank you Chris for
Thank you
giving
for
me a few minutes.
Anytime.
And I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
A lot of you are, if you're local, are probably familiar with the thing we do for Halloween with the computers, not candy. We're going to be looking to provide ridiculously inexpensive computers to anybody in the West Side. So if you need a desktop or a laptop, come see me. This isn't like ridiculously expensive, like $200. This is like 50 bucks. Okay, and I'm trying to get it cheaper than that, but I could probably be providing laptops, desktops for like 50 bucks. And that's the whole damn thing. They're going to run Linux because you can't get a Windows license that cheap, but you will learn how to use Linux. It's not hard. Next question. You have been very patient, and me.
Well, the one thing that I wanted to say is I've only lived in the West Side for about 3 years now. And I have never, ever seen the community come together the way everybody in the West Side does. It is so wonderful to see us trying to make our areas better, trying to work with each other, talking to our neighbors more than pointing fingers at them. It's very nice.
Oh, there's no shortage of finger pointing.
Well, there isn't, but we're getting better. Rather than necessarily point all fingers, sometimes you need to talk to your neighbors a little bit more. And
Yes.
that's one thing that I see us doing, and I think it's wonderful. And I'm glad to see, there's a couple people here from my neighborhood. Walk by your house all the time. You might see my husband and our 2 dogs, and I'm sorry if they scare you.
And just consider it an open invitation. Me and my guys frequently, like if it's summertime, the back door is wide open, we get neighborhood kids to wander up with their bike, hey, can you put air in my tire, fix my chain. We fly a lot of aircraft, if it's over 40 degrees, we're flying. Just accept that as fact. If you see me or any of my guys out flying, walk up, say hi. If you've got kids with you, super secret thing, you know those really cheap little like $2 balsa wood gliders that you can get? We go to the hobby shop on 28th Street and I just and dump them in a bag and we give them out to kids. If your kids walk up to us and we're flying, they're going home with a glider. Just, it's a thing. We do full public tours here every Saturday, 12:30 sharp, every Saturday. Come to them. They're cool. If you haven't been to one in a year, come. It's changed a lot. This building is always evolving. And we are rabidly pro getting people in here. Come check this out, see what we do. There's something for every one of you to do here. Any other questions? You go ahead and question. You work here.
Doesn't matter. It's part of the community too. Just glancing over this document I found from GRPD.
Okay.
On the subject of no trespassing signs, if you file a computerized trespass letter of authorization with the GRPD, that shows up on their computers whenever they punch your address.
Yeah,
it goes on their property. They can just pop in the address, see that they are allowed to go on the property without your permission, check it out, make sure nothing's going on. And I don't see anything in here that says that a sign is required, just suggested.
Yeah.
So.
I still vote for regular, plain old no trespassing signs.
Yeah.
Somebody over here, questions? You.
I'm not totally clear on what this is all about, but
from what I'm gathering, you want to do a pilot project and use each of us as residents to use a camera?
Yes, I want to give you a camera that I own so that you don't have to pay for it, that we put on your property, and you can see, you can access it anytime, 24/7, and the camera is pretty much zero maintenance. If it breaks, we come and fix it. And the video from that camera feeds a central server here, so that if a crime is committed and that camera happens to catch that crime, the data from that is visible to you and the city police.
And are we responsible for reviewing this
No,
film to
no.
see if anything?
And you can, if you want, you can tune into the camera anytime you want, you can review old footage, but you're not responsible for it in any way. The only thing you're responsible for is making sure it has electricity, so pay your power bill. And it uses less than $5 of electricity a year. Your VCR uses more power than this does. So, yes. VCR. Shut up, You have it with USB ports on it. I don't even own a television. I'm the worst person to ask about that.
It sounds like we're just saying, it's a safety mechanism, so
It
that
is.
if you have somebody that has, you know there's a crime, somebody broke in, somebody got burglarized, whatever, then you can go review the footage, because you'll know what the.
That's the idea.
I'm interested in the concept that you were talking about earlier about people being deliberately stupid. And I think there's a lot of that around. But I'd like to think that we can also combat that. I work at the polls next door at the church. That's one of my jobs. And I was appalled. You could have blown me over with a feather when I realized that in this particular precinct, we had less than 9% of our people polling.
Yeah. This is America. We'll cross the pond to fight a war. We won't cross the street to vote.
I know, I'm flabbergasted, but I also recognize,
I hope Mrs. Harrison, that's right.
and that's another one, mine is there too. But I also recognize that people don't vote for many, many reasons. And one of those reasons is they don't understand. They don't get the process of voting. They don't get the reasons for voting. They don't really know how to read what's at stake or make sense of it.
Because it doesn't affect them.
Often that's true,
That's how they
but
feel
they
about
don't
it.
see
This is
how
true.
it affects them.
So, as a teacher, as a realtor, my job, my fundamental day job, is to empower the community with access to science and technology. My real job is to get people to learn how to think. Or, in some cases, simply to fucking think. Coming from a teaching background, and given that you work at the poll place, you understand that the fundamental responsibility of citizenry is to become an informed electorate.
I do.
My job is to get people to understand that critical thinking exists in the first place, and that it works. I don't care who people vote for, I just care that they do.
I care that they do.
And a lot of what I do, and I do this every week, and you will like this. I am the president of a multi-million-dollar national nonprofit organization.
Oh, good.
I know. That and a buck will get you a short beer. So, every week, on Saturday afternoons, I invite anyone with a sincere and passionate desire to learn to walk into this building and take a full tour. After the tour, I sit them all down right here, on camera, on YouTube, and I let them put me in the hot seat on live television. And anybody on earth with an internet connection can tune in and watch that and hear everything I say. Absolute transparency, absolute accountability. And it goes out on YouTube, so it isn't just live. You can look up tours from a year ago and see them. And on television,
They get to ask me absolutely anything they want because I'm the president of a nonprofit and I should be held accountable. And I do this. And I go to meetings like that. And I do things like this because critical thinking works. And it's my job to get people to ask questions and demand evidence. Because while I may wear a suit coat and a button-up shirt, I'm doing everything I can to fight the mayor.
Have you really been waiting all night this season?
I actually wore this. For those of you that work in the community, you might be familiar with the Other Way Ministries and that crowd. There's a guy there named Carl, who is the biggest, most terrifying thug black guy you know. He's the sweetest man ever, and I love him to bits. And I had a meeting with him here a couple weeks ago, and we were just talking, and he said something, and I just turned and went, right on, man. And he didn't miss a beat. And he's like, you're white. Shit, it's true! I told us I'm a white guy, but I got the largest collection of Black Panthers party t-shirts of any white guy you ever met. And he just kind of giggled. So I wore this tonight in case I ran into him, because I figured he might come up. But I actually do have Black Panther party t-shirts. Because it's... I believe in civilized society. I believe in simply being decent to each other. And if you walk next door, in their building, they have a large culture based around a simple precept, do unto others. Right? This is the 21st century, not the first. So today we have, don't be a dick. It's that easy. Just don't be a dick.
That's fair.
Yeah. And I have a National Science Center across the street from a church in the buckle of the Bible Belt in a city that has more churches than gas stations. Look it up. And I'm okay with that. I'm totally cool with it. And I get that there are certain fundamental philosophical differences. They have a building full of answers you're not allowed to question, and I have a building full of questions that we don't have answers for. And it's cool, and we need each other. Because this neighborhood started out back in the day when the Polacks came in and took it over from the Germans. And man, there was a fight. Okay. And then the Polacks did their thing. And then a whole bunch of them went over to the northeast side because of the brickyards. And the whole neighborhood changed. And then a whole bunch of the Polacks went over to the southwest side because they worked in the mines when they established the Domtar gypsum mines and all that. And this neighborhood has changed every decade since. In the 70s and 80s, the tenements came in. That's why right now, and look this up, it'll scare the hell out of you. Look up the city property ownership maps and see the number of people who own the most houses in this neighborhood. It'll scare the hell out of you.
Usually they're corporations.
Yeah, well, they're LLCs. But it's one guy who has an LLC to hide behind, and he owns 300 homes. And there's a handful of these. And I had the same thing in Casey when I lived down there. There was like 3 guys that owned my entire neighborhood. Everybody here rents now. Nobody owns. It is. There's a handful of us, but not many. Most of the people in this neighborhood can't afford to own. And because of that, things happen. Because if you're just renting, you're not personally invested in it because you're going to be.
Well, that's a fallacy that has been put on renters for years and years. You have no skin in the game.
They don't. They don't get equity.
No.
Which is dumb because it's actually cheaper to own.
Sure it is. But you still have to have skin in the game to have a decent neighborhood. You still want skin in the game because you've got kids in the school. People are never too transient. They move because they can't afford to stay. They move because they're not successful in the area that they're in. Because they can't keep a job.
I've been in this building 5 years. I've watched the house behind us change tenants 4 times. I've watched it change ownership twice.
I'm sure you have.
Go.
I have a 2-part question. Like, one is the crime maybe cyclical around here because I did not know I lived in a bad neighborhood until my grandma said she couldn't come to Thanksgiving this year. Because apparently 30 years ago it was really shitty on my block. And I was like, no, Grandma, it's kind of nice. No, I've been over the lane.
It's cyclical, but on a macro scale. And that's just simple gentrification. That happens in every neighborhood in America. That's simple gentrification.
And I have a camera question.
Okay. That I can answer intelligently.
So like if my landlord puts a camera on the corner of my building, is there any way to like contest that? Or because like my next door neighbors are super nice, God-fearing old people. So they make the grandson deal as dope in the front yard. Swear to God.
Pure West Side.
God. And you know Mike, you know the guy I'm talking about. And so it's like one of those things where are they gonna be like, tell everybody on my block, like they've got a camera, we should sign a petition. Is that a thing? Can they do that?
Why
Well-
tell them you have a camera?
Huh?
Why tell them you have a camera?
Well, they're gonna
No,
see
they'll
the blinking
notice
light.
it.
I
No, there are no
camera.
blinking lights. Here's a really awesome thing for all of you to know. Whenever you see a little security camera that looks like a brick with sharp corners and a red blinky light, they're fake. Every time. The only thing inside that is 2 diesel batteries. Look around. Look around this room. There are like 20 cameras in this room. One camera has a blinky light, and it's that one up there. And these are broadcast cameras. But look at all the security cameras. One security camera has a blue light on it. That's it. All the rest of the security cameras, they don't put lights on them. Nobody puts lights on them.
Mine has a light on it. It's just like
Is it
a
real?
little red light. Yeah, it looks like that.
It's a webcam. It's a webcam.
That
Yeah,
one's
it's not a
a-
security camera, it's a webcam. Yeah, but it's a webcam.
Yeah, it's a network connected camera.
Yeah,
right,
and those have lights on them so you know that it's connected. So, yeah.
But they can't be like, hey, we don't, like, if they do find out about the
If
camera,
they
they
piss
can't
off
be like,
about
it
it-
faces my house, I don't like that.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because you don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy. And this is the thing that really pisses people off. Look it up. It is totally illegal for me to sit in my car across the street from your house and videotape through your front window of anything you're doing. You have no expectation of privacy. The reason for this is there's a big window on the front of your house. If you want privacy, get curtains. If you want to not get busted for dealing dope in the front yard, deal dope in the backyard. But if you're out,
I just can't have the neighbors coming after me with like torches and pitchforks again, that's why I'm.
that's okay. Send them to me. Say, hey, the geek group put the camera in my front thing.
I have
Eat
nothing to
bullets.
do with
That's
it.
my job. I stand in front and eat bullets. Let them hate me.
Yeah, or just play stupid, I don't know what that is.
I don't know who you did.
Martians put it in your name.
I fully expect to catch major flack about this across the board from various people, and that's my job. It's what I do. And I get hated by a lot of people every day. It's okay. Ask Mike. Mike has fielded some of the hate flung at me.
Mike has fielded some of the hate flung at me.
I think Mike just feels hate.
Can somebody field something?
We all need something to
Any other questions? Go. I've been waiting.
She's been saving it up. She was trembling.
She can break out the booklet. You know.
Mr. Padre Modius
I like some of the points that you made, especially when you were talking about being a community and caring about what your neighbor does. That's a great point. And I think that your initiative here is a great endpoint when we haven't done that well enough, or when people are just going to be assholes anyways. The other things that we should be doing as neighbors have a lot to do with criminology, and they have a lot to do with the economy. They have a lot to do with how we're treating our children, what we've given them to expect. And as a renter, I disagree with some of your points. I agree with others. You there with the green jacket. I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
That's okay.
I do have a vested interest in living here. I'm a long-term renter. I live here as a renter with a lady who has a private house. She lived there herself and moved to other pastures. And I've been here for over 2 years now. And I think that people, if they show that they can be invested in this community, and if we show them that we will accept them, then they'll have a greater interest, because nobody wants to live in a crime-ridden neighborhood.
Nobody does.
I walked past my neighbors to get to the bus stop, new neighbor, and they looked at, they were walking out of their house, and they looked at me and I said, hey, I'm your neighbor. Thank you for cleaning off your bus stop here. Do you know about any of the crime fighting things that are going on this afternoon? Do you know about the your West Siders group? And they're like, no man, nobody said anything to us. We don't know anybody. We just moved in like a couple months ago. I think that if we show our neighbors that we aren't on our computer or aren't right next door, we haven't known for 20 years, or maybe a different color than us, because we're kind of monochromatic in this room.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And all of maybe a certain age or income level. We all assume that everybody has a phone and everybody has a computer and everybody has internet access. That's not true.
No, it's not.
And not everybody has a car and they can just get in and they can just beep one down here. Or anywhere for that matter of fact.
However,
So,
not everybody has a phone or computer internet access. However, anybody in this community wants to park their ass in this room and just get on the internet. If they walk in, internet is free. If they don't have a computer, I will give them one. Okay, I can make that happen. You can do that. You need to hang out with Brian.
we do, but that's a whole other thing.
I would like to point out when we started, okay, she showed up an hour early just to be a pain in the ass. And Brian walks out, and you mentioned, you came on the tour and you mentioned you have no depth perception. I'm a horrible person. So when you came out and you're like, hey Brian! And all I could think about, well, he doesn't have any depth perception either. These two are like the perfect pair. You just hang out together. And then I found out that you're friends, and I'm just like, oh my god.
We worked with another nonprofit together.
Which one?
JFAX, we're a cultural...
Oh, I know what JFAX is. You can't be around him and not know what JFAX is.
JFAX is a little different than what he's used to, actually. We're
I bet.
broadening our influence to more Japanese cultural events.
Okay.
Things like that. In any case, getting back to why we're here. She mentioned she was a teacher. Great, well, come on down. Let's teach some of these kids. You said that a lot of the crimes that they were dealing with are priority 4 crimes. I work with VIPS, which is a national police organization that allows volunteers to work with police departments. I know what they mean by that. It's their criminology. I have been a trained mediator for restorative justice. If you want to know what restorative justice is, talk to me. It's basically taking crimes that don't have to go to court and letting them be dealt with by the people that are involved in them.
Are you the person who submitted the idea for the community judge thing, the like they
No,
do
I'm
now?
not that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a dude.
Okay. Check.
But you want to set up some restorative justice?
I'll house it.
Yeah, I'll get with you guys
Okay.
to do your.
And if you guys come to me with a thing, like I don't care if you have like a stitch and bitch or whatever, like any kind of little community group.
Stitch and bitch.
It's a legitimate term.
Quilters unite.
Yes, see?
My point is.
If I want to host all these things.
My point is, let's do something before we get to this point. Let's take these kids where their parents are working 3 and 4 jobs, where their parents maybe aren't working any jobs, maybe they're shitty parents, who knows? But these kids are told, the police are going to come get you. That's the interaction you're going to have with the police.
Yeah.
The white people are going to complain about you. That's the interaction you're going to have with the white people.
Yeah.
Let's teach these kids something, give them bikes, school folks around here, you guys build bikes, whatever. Let's interact with our neighbors, give some of our precious free time, and then, if something still is a problem, then we have initiatives like this.
I'm all for it.
I like both.
Hey, well,
Yeah.
you have to understand that I'm at this point now, 5 years in, but I've met all my neighbors. I've interacted with all of the little neighbor kids, and for the first 3 years in this building, every single one of my interactions with all the little neighbor kids was, hey, you, hey, you! And yeah, I've done it.
And they don't
You want to see this building empty in 5 minutes? I start running out the back door screaming. And like, just everyone, Boden's got one. And then, yeah.
You're making my point
He's gonna
for me.
kill
I
us,
love
Henry.
you. I love you. You're making my point for me. Let's give them
and
a
then you
positive
put the cameras
interaction.
inside.
It's going to be hard. Some of them we're going to have to say, dude, do you want to come over here and do this? Instead of being tossed into
And
duty?
we've had
And
that.
that's where restorative
We've had
justice
that
comes
jump.
in. Some of them, the kids are
Some of these
problem.
kids managed to not deal with the police because I followed them home, talked to their mom, who beat their ass. It was awesome because that you never grow out of that. Okay, I had a little brother. Okay, it's the same thing. I'm standing there. I'm like 40 years old. I'm like, yeah, discipline. Yeah, beat his ass. Not me. Not me. And I worked out a thing with the mom. So, okay, we won't call the police, but your kid's going to spend all next week painting in my building.
And that's restorative justice.
Yeah, if you want to paint walls, I got lots of walls. Come on out. And we did that, and it worked out really well. And that mom loves me. The kid hates me. Mom and I, we get along just fine. Are there any other questions? Because we're coming up on, like, it's 21:48 hours now.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, my kid's from the trash house.
Cool. You have failed as a parent.
Oh no, I think my old man thought I was like gonna go vote or something. He's like, where are you going so late? I'm like, the gate group. He's like, you're always there. I said, twice. I've been there twice.
I want to hear your thoughts. You two have sat in the back, heard everything, and you keep smiling.
And you guys were at the other meeting too, right?
Yes, we were.
So I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, I like all the ideas that I've heard. We've been here for a year.
Okay.
The house that we bought, we didn't know it was a former rental.
Allegedly.
Yeah!
That's why they're so quiet.
We're still buzzing.
But we had it professionally cleaned everything, and they had drug parties, hookers, dancers from the nightclub across the street, coming over. And
Why do I never get invited to these things?
The nerds never get invited.
So we're all hip with the idea of having video cameras. You can put one right at their parking lot. All guys that don't want to be seen, they back in so their license plate. Yeah, so it makes us a little nervous. So having cameras would be.
It makes the idea, and I want you guys to, I'm not a particular fan of, government, the police, all that jazz. And the idea, because I've read Orwell, the idea of, hey, let's deploy tons of cameras in the neighborhood. I had the thought, and I was like, that's a really freaky idea, and that kind of scares the hell out of me, and I've seen how well it worked in London and all over the UK and that, and I don't know, but I got thinking about it. I'm like, okay, what are my problems with this, and how can I fix that? And it wasn't the camera, it's who watches the watchers. That was the problem I had with it. How do you make it accountable and transparent, and how do you empower the people with this? And once I figured that out, and I still haven't got all the bugs out of it, it's a prototype. I'm coming off with half an idea, because I can't do it on my own. I need you. I need smart people who see the bigger picture, who are like, we want to fight crime in our neighborhood, but you can't get 1,000 people motivated to join the community watch, and there's limits to it. There's only so much you're going to get people to do. That's why we pay taxes, so that we can have cops do that shit, so we don't have to. And it was, what's the balance? What's the biggest bang for the buck that I can do to do this? And then I sat back and looked, I was like, wow, I just spent $250,000 in 10 minutes. Okay, it's $250,000. All right, what's next? And once you get past that point of, I'll stand up, I'll eat the cost, I'll do the paperwork, I've got the staff, because he's a wicked smart guy, and if I say, hey Ed, we need to go install 5 cameras today, so he's game, you do it right now. Like, shit, let's go. Because it's his thing, he knows it, and he gets the bigger picture, and he's part of it. And at that stage, if I've raised $250,000 to do cameras, hey, I can give him a paycheck to do that. And he can maintain part of the system. And by crowdsourcing it, not for the funding, but for the interaction on it, it gets way easier. Because I don't have to watch your camera. I don't have to know that somebody broke into your house. You know. And you call in and say, hey, this happened, I need footage from last night. Okay, and it's there, and it's making the infrastructure public in doing it in such a way where it can't get turned in on itself. And this way, we're not tracking your use to sell for ad time somewhere so that we know you like Burger King and you're going to get Burger King ads on your phone, bullshit like that. This is us. This is just our way of, we're nerds, we're good at tech. How can we use this to help?
I've never installed cameras, but I'd be more than happy to help.
Cool. It ain't rocket science.
I'll volunteer for anything.
Show up.
Don't say that.
That is true. For those of you that don't know, this girl showed up like a week ago now and said, I want to learn how to clean the because she wants to be a crime scene cleanup person. So I'm like, have I got one for you?
He didn't give me the good one. He blew up an electric
She
ladder.
pressure
I
washed.
missed that.
She pressure washed outside in this weather.
A whole
Okay.
boat.
An entire boat. With a and you know how the nice pressure washers have like heated water and stuff? None of that shit.
They will let you play with all their
She did this for hours outside with a pressure washer. That earned my respect. Any questions? You got one, or are you picking your scabs?
I had a thought.
You have half a thought?
I had a thought, I really did. Oh, yeah, I did. Basically, to me, the cameras are like the little old ladies that usually would turn on and sit out the windows and just watch all the time.
My grandmother.
My grandmother.
The neighborhoods I grew up were all neighborhood watch. Everybody had the neighborhood watch in their windows, and you always knew there was somebody looking out the windows.
And they're going to tell your mom.
And in today's society, none of us have enough time to stay home to look outside of our windows.
Yes.
True. That's where the camera takes its place. Instead of us looking out our windows all the time, we don't have to do that, because for one, we don't have time. We all have to work so we can feed our families.
It's the thing I like about Tony Leonard and used to be Officer Ort and that group of guys. I didn't grow up in the West Side. I've lived here on and off for 20 years, but I was born and raised in Coopersville, redneck farm country, about 20 miles that way. Okay, I grew up with cows, yes. And where I grew up, 3,000 people, and the cop on the corner knew your name and your reputation. And that's Tony's job. He's the guy, yeah, I know those kids, I've dealt with those kids, and he knows their mom, and it's that kind of community policing. And anything I can do to empower him with more data to do his job better makes our world a better place. So that's the real overarching idea. Did we get names and addresses and phone numbers from everybody? Did we do that? Okay. I will sell all of that to Yahoo so you can get spammed for dick pills. Thank you everyone for coming. You all know where to find me. I hang out at We Are Westsiders. You guys are obviously the crankiest, extra people in the West Side. Thank you all for coming. Good. I'm going to give you my card with my super secret direct info.
Okay.
You can bug me all you want.